Hi there, this is Tyler, and I am here at the Gauntlet Open Gaming with some wonderful players, and we're playing one of my favorite games in the whole wide world, Monster of the Week. And this particular adventure is called The Silence of the Woods. Monster of the Week is a Powered by the Apocalypse game, and it is one of I think the best put together games of Powered by the Apocalypse. It does a little bit of everything. You can bring all sorts of stories into it. And anybody who's watched me run games know I like some horror, and it does it really well. This particular game is going to be taking place in 1995 in the back hills of Kentucky in a little town called Dalton. And I want to say first, though, that Gauntlet is a fantastic gaming club community. You can find us at gauntlet-rpg.com. You can come join us. We have a Patreon. We have plenty of opportunities for you to come in and game. We run games every month, and we run a ton of them. And it's some of the best people you're ever going to play with. Fun, generous. It's a safe space where we all get together and just enjoy the hobby that we like. So please feel free to take a look and join in with us. We've already gone over our safety tools with the players. We have the X card on the table. We have Alliance and Veils as well. And the Gauntlet has its code of conduct. And our players are all familiar, and we've discussed that. They've also had a chance to kind of choose up some playbooks, and they're busily putting them together. So I'm going to tell a little bit of the story of Dalton. Dalton is small, probably no more than a couple of hundred people, and that includes the farms that kind of lay outside of the town center, as it were. The town itself has a couple of hotels for people who come hiking when it's winter. There's also skiing. We are going to be in spring, so for the most part, the skiing is over, and most of the tourists have gone. There are some hikers and such who are here enjoying the scenery, but for the most part, it's just the townsfolk who are here now. There's also a Piggly Wiggly grocery store in town, which is, your general supermarket type, but because the town is so small, it's not an enormous one. There is a local hardware store. There is also a historical society / local newspaper that is in town. They have a police department with a sheriff and a deputy. They don't have much trouble here in Dalton as a general rule, so they don't need many more policemen than that. Dalton was first settled, and when I say settled, I mean settled by Europeans in the mid-1700s. Of course, there were native people who lived here long before that, and there is still some native people who live here and have just basically been integrated into the entirety of the society. It's not there's no reservation, there's no designated spot where the Native Americans live, but there are a good many people who can trace their lineage back to a bit of native blood. The town used to be near some of the mining in Kentucky, coal mining primarily, but the mines have long since stopped being profitable, and it's been over a generation since anybody was involved in mining. And now most of what they make their living off of is timber, is tourism, and there is a little bit of that kind of Kentucky hard scrabble farming that goes on here. Kentucky is very hilly and very rocky, and this is in particular right in the middle of the mountains. So there's a lot of the farming that goes on that's kind of step farming almost, up hillsides and things like that. One of the biggest crops that they make money off of is ginseng. And there is a constant bit of feuding fighting that goes on between people who go and raid other folks' ginseng fields. And pretty much the only real thing the sheriff has to deal with is occasionally someone going off into someone else's field and running across where they booby-trapped it, or catching a hind end full of buckshot because someone found them and brought out the shotgun on them. The people here are pretty independent. They're pretty practical, but it is a fairly insular community of the people who live here. The families are old residents. There are very few new people. The tourists come in, then they leave. Now, 5 years ago, a group of 4 people came to investigate a local legend called the Witch of Summer Creek. It is said that in a hollow, a valley not far from Dalton, there is some supernatural being. Locals, and this is something that anyone with just a cursory look can find, locals call it the Witch of Summer Creek, but it's not like anyone has ever seen someone. It's not that they, there's not some woman in a cabin back there or some warlock hiding off in the brush. It's just the rumor of what they call it. And the stories date back to the very founding of the town. And there are even some stories that are said to be older than when the Europeans arrived. This hollow is not on the maps. No one can really say for sure. You guys coming in, people coming in, don't really know for sure where it is. And the investigators who arrived began looking, began questioning, and at least from what you have all heard, they found out where it was and mounted an expedition to go into it. You have been hired to find them because no one has heard from them since. Well, no one had heard from them until about a month ago, when a letter arrived at the father of one of these people, William Coates. And William Coates' son, whose name is Billy, had sent a letter that was postmarked from 5 years before. The letter itself was wrinkled up and dirty, but the postmark on it, shows that it was mailed roughly the time they disappeared. And in the letter, Billy says, "We found what we're looking for, Dad. The stories here are really hard to believe. We don't think that there's actually a witch there, of course. There does seem to be something that these people are scared of. They talk about visions, voices. They say that the animals will turn on you. They even talk about spirits that move between the trees. Our team is certain that we're going to get some great shots. This could make my name, Dad. All the papers are going to hear about what we find. I'll write to you just as soon as we get back out. Love you, Billy." Mr. Coates arranged for a group, you, to go in and try and find his son. Why don't we get some introductions if folks feel like they might can do that? Sabine, you think you're ready to introduce your character?
I don't have a name yet. I'm sorry.
It's always the hardest part.
Yeah, I think that's but I would like to introduce the character by name. But I mean, I can give you some kind of.
Want me to give you a second to figure out a name?
No, okay. No. I'll figure out a name, but I can tell you that he used to be a paramilitary paramedic. That's what I know for sure right now. And he got involved with this agency, which is called Agatha Jones NGO. And they are about getting people out of the firing line, I guess, if they are targeted by supernatural things, and then the Agatha Jones agency would send people to get them out of there.
So they're especially centered on supernatural problems.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, a bit.
So it's not just broad-based like rescues from kidnappings or anything like. It's really focused on the supernatural.
Yeah, I mean they do the mundane stuff to bring people in, but once they've judged if these people are, well, reliable, then they will move them in onto get this guy out because there's a vampire after him. Stuff like that.
Okay. What's he look like?
I don't know yet. Give me a second, right?
Okay. Well then, Terry, why don't you introduce your character?
Okay. My character's name is Lucas Wainwright. They are an investigative reporter, and they are completely into investigating the supernatural stories, history of the supernatural, and strange occurrences around the different this area and other areas.
Okay, and we have a snoop in our party as well. So, do you think that y'all work together, or are you a separate organization?
I think if Sherry's willing, I'd be willing to be working together.
I like the idea that you're the one who has credibility and a rep and might get a super wide audience, but she's the one that's really going for the horror stories and the sort of conspiracy theories and all of that stuff, because she's got like a cable channel that, she does a show on a cable channel with her blurry video and the stories that she gets, and she tapes interviews and splices them and all that stuff in it. So she's like part of that whole thing, but she does have, she knows some stuff.
Does that sound good, Terry?
Some things. Would that work?
Yeah, sounds perfect.
Excellent. What's he look like?
He's got a very curious looking face. Definitely the outdoorsy type. Has a weather treated jacket and hat, and is used to spending some time outdoors looking for different things. So, yeah.
Okay. And have you picked any moves?
Started to here. I've got cryptid sighting and zone of strangeness, and
nice.
And then I haven't picked anything else yet. I'm still working on it.
That's cool. All right. Then let's go to you, Mario. Would you like to introduce your character?
Yes, I'm going to play Derek Payne, who's a hard-boiled detective kind of guy with an unshaven face and the cliche fedora and trench coat. He wants to solve the case, I guess. Maybe have a drink and earn some money doing it.
Nice. Oh, that's awesome. Have you picked any moves?
Not yet, no.
That's fine. Perfectly fine. And Sherry, we've heard a little bit, but would you like to tell us about your character?
Sure. So her name is Desiree Cars. She has essentially, she does a radio show in a sort of suburban area that actually carries into the Chicago area. So she actually has a decent listenership or whatever. And she also has a cable channel where she makes use of her video and her photos and things like that. And she has gone to a lot of trouble to get like appropriate press accreditation and sort of all the things to give her legit credibility so she can get in and get stories. But she knows it's out there. She wants to prove it. She's absolutely obsessed with it, and her belief and her, getting all of this information about it. She's got a lot of people who listen to her, and they support her. They like send in information and stuff. So she's actually gotten leads from her listeners and stuff like this. And this is why she's down here. It just so happened that, I guess George was, let's see here. It's Lucas was down there too. So she gloms onto him because, he actually is paid to be here and she's not.
Nice. Have you picked any moves?
Oh, yeah. So I picked We'll Fix It in Post. I can use anything I may have conceivably recorded as evidence for investigative mystery, allowing me to check previous interviews, attack sites, and so on from the comfort of it says laptop, but it would be from, I assume, the comfort of my notes and or my editing suite, right?
It's 95. You could probably have a fairly chunky laptop.
Well, yeah, like an IBM ThinkPad that weighs 1 million pounds, sure, made of cast iron, I think. No, I mean, they were heavy. Yeah. So I have, an IBM ThinkPad. I think that would be awesome.
Okay.
And the first of the editing suites. So yeah, I've got a toaster loaded up. Sure, I know what's going on. And then I have press accreditation because, like I said, I've gone out and gotten that. So, but the move says when I go to investigate a mystery by talking to witnesses, interviewing locals, or anything else requiring interpersonal skills, I get to roll my charm instead of sharp, which is a good thing. And then the Mojo Wire is when I spend time reading all the latest news feeds, looking for weird stuff I can take +1 forward.
Okay, and we, 95, internet is young and new, but you've certainly got BBSs up there, and it's a time when, kind of information is at its rawest. So, in a lot of ways, it's the easiest to get information out of because now it's, just such a slew.
Yeah, exactly.
So you can definitely use that. We don't have Wi-Fi. But you will be able to connect in those landlines and get the old AOL zippy noise to bring you in. And as it turns out, this is here in the hollows and the mountains and all. It's kind of one of those radio dead zones anyway. So it would be, even today, you probably wouldn't be getting cell reception and Wi-Fi.
Okay. So, yeah. And I mean, and the other thing is that back then still, like local newspapers and stuff still had content in them as opposed to just being ad flyers. So back then there would be like, if you went to a newspaper to look for stories at the library or something, you would actually find stuff in there. As opposed to where it's just obituaries is the only fact-based, or I mean, the only story-based stuff. So
cool. Love it. All right. So I'm going to ask a couple of quick questions here. I'm going to start with you, Mario, with Derek. I think Mr. Coates probably directly hired you to go in on this. You're a detective. You're someone that he, that probably would have the skills to look into this. What did he promise you? Is it just money, or is there something more? And that he's able to provide for you?
Maybe he has something I need for another case. Some information or some document or something like that, which motivates me.
So there's more at stake than just the money.
Yeah, I'm also broke, but yeah.
Excellent. I'm wondering if my earphones are so bad. I'm sorry. Sabine, with your character there, let's see. Let me pull over to look. I gotta think that you're being sent in because you're dangerous and able to handle yourself if things get sticky. Mr. Coates would have arranged.
I'm also a medic.
What's that?
I'm also a field medic with some medical experience, so.
Okay. Did Coates go through the agency to get you? Or do you think that Mr. Coates, that you
Probably.
have some personal relationship there?
I mean, it's possible. It's possible that I've been living in the area for a while. I mean, it's and what would be unusual because I'm an immigrant, but I guess they go even to Kentucky.
Well, and now Coates doesn't live here. He's sent y'all in from elsewhere. Yeah, that whole team came here.
Oh, okay.
They weren't from here. So,
okay.
And I want to ask, of the other 3 players, which of them have you met before in your investigations or in one of these supernatural capers you had to deal with?
I mean, that's any of them is actually quite possible. I think maybe it was probably not. I'm undecided, but I think I'd like maybe the gumshoe, just because he wants to protect the innocent, and I get sent in to get people out. I mean, that's pretty much regardless of their innocence or not, but it could be innocent, so we might have bumped into each other while saving some people who otherwise would have been a terrible risk. That's okay with you.
All right. Then you like that, Mario?
Yeah, I like that. That's cool.
Then let me ask you, Derek, when you met Jorge in this investigation, did you get the person y'all were supposed to rescue out?
I'd say yes. Sabine, what do you think? I think so. Yeah, we did a good job.
Yeah, I think we got them out, but maybe there was a complication.
Yeah, of course.
All right, then answer me this, Derek. The creature that had taken the target, what mark did it leave on you?
Ooh. Bite marks on the neck, something one can see.
I love it. Excellent. Lucas, we know that you and is it Desiree? I believe it is Desiree, have at least passing familiarity. You know of each other. What do you think of her style of reporting? Gary?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. I was asking, since we know that you know Desiree, our Snoop.
Yep.
What do you think of her style of reporting? Her rather over-the-top style of reporting?
I think it's good for the fact that it keeps it allows us to report the stuff, and to those that are believers, they follow us quite a bit, but then for the non-believers, it gets them to leave us alone for the most part.
Sherry, for Desiree, what story did you figure out that Lucas didn't believe until it was too late?
I think that there was a story with like one of those suburbs that they built out into some fields, out into some farming fields, but also that it wasn't that far from a wetlands area.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those things where people started, saying that they were seeing things out in the wetlands, and then pets started disappearing and stuff. And I tried to convince Terry to go out there and take a look because there was something like the pattern was really wrong. And he wouldn't believe me, and that it was that big of a deal. We went out there because there was a good cafe that he'd heard about, and so we were out there, and we found some things, but we didn't get it put together in time. And actually, a kid disappeared, like got taken by essentially, sort of a creature of the Black Lagoon that had been out there for a long time, and had just been getting braver and braver. And while that mess was cleaned up and we got that stuff, we weren't there in time to, and we both are kind of very quiet about it, if that makes any sense. Because I was certain, but I didn't act on it because his uncertainty made me uncertain. So I'm really angry at myself.
Can we, since we don't have harm to children, can we take them up to maybe a teenager?
Yes, a rotten teenager was
Yeah.
out there cherry bombing, frogs or something.
There we go. And Terry, maybe in this one, but maybe in some other incident, how did you save Desiree's bacon one time when she got in too deep?
Okay. Well, I think she got into an area where she managed to get herself surrounded. And it was deep into the forest, and myself and my network came in, and we were able to pull her out and extract her and get they were able to distract while I fought off what it was and got her out of there.
Sound good, Sherry?
Yep, bunch of zombie deer being controlled by a backwoods sorcerer, necromancer.
Okay.
It was terrible. And my footage doesn't show the deer were zombie deer, so.
And Sherry, I think you stated that you've kind of just come to find the story. So you don't think Coates got in touch with you? You think you just got wind of this, or do you think Coates had something to do with it?
I think I heard through the grapevine that there was a letter, and I kind of got my feelers out and got information from people around him. And one of the things is he let me on the team because if nothing else, he knows that there was sort of a leak in, his arrangements, and he wants to see if he can figure out who that was. So, but yeah, I got like the contents of his letter was essentially, and so I had done some basic reporting, and then that came up as flags for him.
Nice. And Terry, do you think Lucas, Coates got in touch with you, but did Coates, is he hired you, or has he just planted that this is like a great story and piqued your interest? What do you think?
I think that he would have planted the seed with my network of people, knowing that I can't resist a great story.
Excellent. Very good. And I want to do one more little crossover to give us a little bit of connection between people. So, Derek, Mario, what story, or what case did Desiree give you information on that helped you save someone?
We already had missing teenagers and a zombie deer. maybe some corruption. I don't know if I could save somebody there, but maybe it was like a big organization tried to sweep something under the rug, and I wanted Desiree tried to expose that, and I was also on that case, and so we worked together, and her information helped me to save someone who was part of the problem the organization tried to.
Ooh, I like that. Is that good with you, Sherry?
Oh yeah, sounds great.
And, Derek has this code, the protecting the innocent. What is it? What did you see out of Derek that made you realize that deep down, or maybe even right on the surface, he's a good guy? What'd you see him do?
I think that essentially when we were doing the extraction, like from that whole situation with the corruption and stuff, there was one last foray where they really tried to get in there and just kill the person that we were trying to get out of there just so that they got rid of the witnesses. And Derek threw himself into that. And I saw what went down, and Derek was lucky that he's still alive. But he was 100% in that fight, and yeah. And I have the videotape, and sometimes I look at it and I'm like, oh my gosh. So I think he's got angels flying over him too. That's the other thing. So.
Nice. And I'm going to come to you, Jorge. At one point, Lucas, how am I going to put that? Yeah, there we go. Lucas was able to give you information that probably saved you and your team's life. What was it?
I think it might have been something about a parasite that was creeping around like a curious kitty. I'm sorry, I get distracted by cats terribly. But it was some sort of parasite that would disguise itself as a kind of a plant thing, like a mushroom, and you'd think it was harmless, but it was really not. And he knew about that, and he warned us, warned me. And so I was able to avoid being infected by a parasite.
Excellent. And Lucas, you've seen Jorge go into terrible danger and save people. Who did Jorge save that you cared about? Terry, that's you. Did you hear?
Oh, me?
No, Terry.
Sorry, I'm not hearing when you say my name. So.
Oh, I'm sorry. I keep doing Lucas. I keep doing your character name. But yeah. Who you've seen Jorge go into dangerous situations and save people. Who did Jorge save that meant a lot to you?
I think Jorge saved my daughter.
Ooh, I love it.
Would have been probably around 15 years old at the time. And I had been abducted, and she came looking for me.
Ooh, nice. Okay, I think we've built up some kind of nice bonds here where we have some mutual respect. Kind of most people know each other to one extent or another. And so I think it sounds like we're all going to be rolling into town at the same time, even if we're not all in the same vehicle. So I'll ask Sherry, are you riding with someone, or do you have a crew? Did you bring a crew with you?
I do have a crew. So, yeah.
How
And
many
then
folks?
mainly they'll stay back at the cabin, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, do you want details on them?
Just how many do you have?
I have three. I have my sound girl, sound wizard. I have Rico, who's my writer, researcher, sounding board, and I have Terrence, who's the driver and the equipment guy. So,
Okay.
like essentially, we sort of all work on the presentation together. But yeah,
And y'all got like a van type thing? Is
yeah,
that
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we also all have sleeping bags in it and stay there whenever. So.
Okay. And Coates has arranged for, especially since it's in the down season, y'all have cabins. There's one of the resorts there. There is a nice, I say cabin. It's a 4-bedroom deal for you as a group. But he would be more than, it'd be very easy if you want to get a second cabin for your crew, or if someone wants to have a cabin of their own. Like I say, the tourists aren't really there in Dalton at the moment.
Okay.
Derek, do you think that you came in alone, or did you come with someone?
No, I came alone. There are no tourists there right now, you say?
Very few, just a few hikers and that sort of thing.
Okay, because I traveled there by bus. I lost my driving license for a while now, so I gotta take the bus, and my liquor flask is with me instead of the driving license, so that makes sense for me.
There you go. And I think the bus comes to Dalton only like once a week, so you're coming in. And there's very few. It's just kind of you on the bus by yourself. And as the driver arrives there and opens up the door, he's like, "Hey, Bob, this is your stop."
Thanks.
And you get out. Jorge, are you coming alone, or are you riding with someone?
I've got my own car. I mean, I've got a move for having a car, so I'm coming in my I guess it's sort of a nondescript it's not a pickup truck, it's a bit bigger. What are these things? A van, I guess it's a van.
Okay. All right. Yeah. And so that Terry, then Lucas sounds like it coming with any of the party, but has he got anybody he travels with?
Yeah. Lucas has probably got that whole X-Files band thing going on with his group that he travels with. The network, they're kind of a hobbyist club that travel together in like a mobile home.
Oh, okay. And so they've come as well?
Yeah.
All right. I love having NPCs to play with. All right. So you all arrive here in Dalton, and the trees are green. And as you've traveled into this area, you went a whole long way seeing very little except trees and mountains. Occasionally you would see like a roadside stand where they were selling, early corn or early tomatoes. There are a couple, when you first got off the highway and started making your way back here, you saw a couple of stands where people were selling knickknacks and souvenirs. It's that kind of playing off the hillbilly idea. It's the people who live here really don't like it very much, but there's still profit to be made. So you'll find like the corn husk dolls and the, that sort of crap as you got off the highway. But once you travel back here, there's none of that. And coming into Dalton, it's a nice looking town. Streets are clean. It's small, but you don't see any of that kitschy kind of junk that might pop up somewhere else. And making your way to the resort. I think, Derek, you probably have to walk up the main street, and as you do, you'll see a few folks who, they'll nod politely and hey, hi, sort of thing. But you can tell they know you're not a resident, and they give you that kind of tourist. But you're not dressed like most of the hikers. You've got kind of a different look about you, so you'll see them kind of giving you a little side eye. We are up in the mountains, so even though it's spring, it is chilly. So you wearing your coat is not out of sorts. Just to give us an idea of the weather during the day, I'm going to do a terrible thing to you poor Germans because I'm going to use our horrible American temperatures, but during the day, it's around 60 to 65. At night, though, it drops down to 30. And even, so at night it'll get cold enough that there's frost, and it's that things will freeze. And you all arrive at the cabin. Coates has left a kind of a packet for you, which has pictures of the 4 people. His son Billy is one who is a really kind of when the picture was taken, and it's as recent, as they have a picture for. He's a nice looking, strapping, athletic young man, about 25. He's 25. And he, had a big interest in the supernatural and was himself wanting to do one of these, cable shows. That was his dream, sort of thing. With him is Sarah Gamble, who was his kind of researcher, was the person, kind of the brains of the operation. And she's about 30 years old and was thin, but looked, kind of athletic. Someone who looks like they did a lot of hiking, that sort of thing. Some, not like muscular like he is, but someone who looks like they're good for the outdoors. But at the same time, in the picture, you could see she has glasses, and she's, the picture has her holding her notebook, and she's kind of smiling up at the camera. So she's got a little bit of a nerdy look to her. There is Steve Barnwell, who was their camera guy, equipment guy. He's in his early 30s as well. He does not look like he was in the best shape. He's, a little bit portly. In the picture, he's there with some earphones on, and he's holding some gizmo. Those of you that are in the know of supernatural stuff, it's probably an EMP detector. But he was the guy who handled all of their various gadgets for finding the supernatural. And finally, there is John. Actually, I'm so bad with names too. John Vernon. And he's in his 50s. And the picture that you see of him, he's got on a kind of like not a Stetson cowboy hat, but like a well worked in hat. And he's kind of leaning there with a rifle. And that he is the guy that William Coates paid to keep an eye on Billy. He is a former lawman. He had retired from the police force and was basically there to be a bodyguard, to look out for him, especially since, there are definitely bears and mountain lions in these woods. And, there are other dangerous things back in the hills. So he would have been someone who, by all accounts, should be able to handle himself in a fight. So you have that dossier of them, as well as a kind of listing out of that they were here in town for a little over a week, looking for some leads. William says that, he'd heard from him on the phone, said that the townspeople didn't want to talk about it much. Then mentions that they got a lead at the Historical Society from a lady named Polly. And that's as much as William Coates knew. So I'm going to give us a little 5-minute break, give us a chance to, grab us a drink. And then when we come back, we're going to hop into our story, and we will get rolling. So let's take until 5 after the hour, and I will see you all momentarily. All righty. We'll give Sabine just a moment. And I think we're going to open up with a chance for the four of you to talk, chat, make a little planning. So since we're all back, I think that probably, Jorge, you probably got there first and had a chance to look over the cabin that y'all getting to stay at. Say, it's very nice. And it's back away from the town, not like far, but a couple of miles, and set around with trees and all, and there are plenty of hiking trails leading off from it. Then I think Lucas, Terry, you and Desiree, I think y'all probably pull up at about the same time out front of the cabin. And you could see trudging up the path, carrying perhaps his suitcase, is Derek.
It's exhausting, but yeah. I'm getting there.
So you took a path rather than walking along the road, so we couldn't even pick him up on the way there to give him a ride on the way back. Oh, that's sad. But I recognize you, so I and my crew will all come over to help you the last 100 yards, you know.
Oh, thank you. That's nice.
Y'all get inside the cabin, and you see Jorge already there. Jorge, have you brought in? I know that you probably have some weapons. Have you brought them in, or are those in the van?
No, I don't lug around my sniper rifle. That usually scares people off, and rightly so, because these things are really dangerous. So I'm not lugging around my weapons. What I've brought in, though, is food, actually, because I have this. I live mostly in my van, so I bring a lot of food. And I thought there will be others, and maybe I knew already that Derek was coming, so I was like, okay, let's see if they want to eat.
Okay.
So I probably have started some chili or something already.
Nice. And as Lucas and Desiree, as y'all come walking in, Derek with you, quick look around, you can see that you do have your own phone line here. So if you want to, plug in to the internet, you have the ability to do so. And Desiree, what do you have to say as you walk in and see this crew?
I think I walk in and the first thing I say is, that smells divine. And they said, we brought marshmallows.
I don't think they go into the chili, but feel free.
No, they'll be good afterwards. And she goes, we got other stuff though too. And we'll see, they'll go back out to the van and bring out a couple of grocery bags too. It's got a lot of cheese. They have a lot of cheese. I think she noticed. So cheese and eggs.
Lucas, you come in and you see familiar faces.
Hey everyone, it's great to see you all. Oh, okay, hey boys, please, make sure you get all that stuff in the right spot. Don't make sure you're careful with everything. We've got some important business. This is a good one this time. I'm assuming you're all here for this too?
Yep.
I guess, yeah. I mean, looking for Billy Coates, right? And what he found.
Yep.
That's why I'm here too. We have to find him. It's not really a suitcase what I brought with me, but a small briefcase. And I open it, and there's just a lot of scribbled notes and paperwork in it, and not really anything that you might have brought to a cabin like this. And I want to look kind of important. I don't know if it works, but yeah, that's. I'm staring into it, closing it again. So we're going to find him.
Nice. Just to check in, I don't think we do, but does anybody have start of session moves?
I don't think I did. I just want to make sure I picked my moves correctly too,
Okay.
because it's a little confusing with the way it's wrote in the playbook, because it says to pick 3 and then 2.
Right. You have your let's see, cryptid set that comes from. Let's see. Let's look at your.
So I just want to make sure I did it right. That's all.
Yeah. Let's see. Coming down. So with the searcher, you're going to have first off your first encounter. You would have had that one, and
Yep.
so you get all the basic moves plus 3 searcher moves, which is that one plus 2 other ones from the other set.
Okay. Don't have
And
too many then.
let's see what you got there. You have. Yeah, I think so. You would have chosen you would have chosen something off of your first encounter, and which one did you took cryptid sightings, it looks like.
Yeah.
And then you get to choose 2 from the other side.
Yeah. I just wanted to make sure, because
Okay. All right. Well, if you don't have any open moves, you have that folder, but admittedly, it's a little thin on information.
We have to find Polly.
When you were coming into town, you did drive by in the main drag the Historical Society. It serves also as the newspaper where they print the little local newspaper. And you also get the impression that it's kind of what serves as their library as well.
Ooh, sounds like my kind of place.
Is she a colleague of yours, or is it just somebody who knows or who might know something?
There was a mention that maybe Polly was the one that gave the other group the tip that sent them on the path they took.
Suspicious.
Exactly.
Wait, you think she's some kind of in on the conspiracy, whatever that might be?
Not yet, but it might be possible if she sent them into the woods and they got lost.
Oh
Yeah.
well.
Or
We'll
she
find
might have
out.
just known something and it was close to the truth and it got him into trouble. Or they fell in a ditch.
Yeah.
Right.
The ravines
Mario-
are pretty
sorry.
big, actually. I should call it a ditch. It's a ravine. There's a lot of them.
Mario, you have the Naked City there.
Mhm.
What are your 4 contact types?
Do I have to define all 4 of them right now?
Nope. But do you have any in your mind already?
Yeah, I thought about maybe knowing one of the police officers from, I don't know, from when they lived elsewhere and we worked a case together or something. So maybe, one of these guys.
Okay.
Hmm.
I think that you know that the deputy here, and her name is Mavis Trumbull,
Mavis Trumbull.
and she used to work in the big city, wherever you're from, and decided, after she'd seen so much there, she was going to retire to a quiet country life. And so she came here and is the only deputy in town. There's a sheriff, and Mavis is his deputy. She's a tough lady. She's been around the block. You know that back at home, she was considered kind of a hard ass. She didn't put up with stuff. and she was really devoted to the community. She was a good cop. Now she's in her, probably late 50s, and is, just didn't want to be in that grind of the nasty city anymore.
We'll have to pay her a visit too. Okay.
Jorge, anything that you're wanting to do?
I don't know. I mean, I'm not really a sociable guy. I might hit up the pharmacy if they have one, just to see what they got there. Or I might just stay around and look after the other ones. Because maybe someone wants to, I don't know, bury them in a ditch or something. You never know with these small towns. Sometimes there's weird stuff going on.
All righty. And Lucas, anything you're wanting to do right off the bat?
Oh, I get Steven to hand me my my papers on that we've been able to collect on our way down from different sightings and stuff around this town.
Okay.
And I start to spread them out on the table, and we kind of start to see what we can find out on the history.
Well, I think that sounds like an investigate a mystery right off the top here. So let's have you make a roll there. That's going to be rolling with sharp. And I don't know if y'all are familiar with Roll for Party. Looks like you are. But you can choose your dice up at the top and then submit them. And then after that, you can highlight them and just re-roll selected. So go ahead, Terry. Let's see.
How'd you get yours to label? That I haven't seen before.
There's a field that says label.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that that's what it was.
Yeah.
Before I did it.
And I've lost it. Ooh.
That's the first D6 set of D6s, right?
Yep. Yep, 2d6. All right, you've rolled a 10 plus what's your sharp?
2.
Nice. All right, so a 12. So on a 10 plus, you get to hold 2, and we have our reference sheets in the folder there. But for our first time, I'll kind of go through things. You get to hold 2. You can choose to ask a question now, or you can hang on to it a little bit, but it'll be from what you're looking at here. And you can ask one of the following, in your case, 2 of the following questions, 1 for each hold. What happened here? What sort of creature is it? What can it do? What can hurt it? Where did it go? What was it going to do? And what is being concealed here? And keep in mind, of course, this will be informed by what we've got so far in the fiction.
Yeah. So... Guess. Now how? Okay, so let's see here. Let's go with so far from what we know. So we don't have a lot of details yet.
No, you're kind of going over local stories, though, and you probably pull from a little time.
So I'm going to say what happened here at this point.
Okay. Like say you've picked up, they've collected for you news stories, and you could see that there is the Dalton Daily, which is a misnomer. They only put it out once a week, but you've got papers from it that they've managed to collect for you. plus some larger ones from probably like Lexington, Kentucky, the capital, places, some bigger ones as well. And you've noticed, looking through this, that hikers do go missing in this area quite a lot. At least more than is normal. I mean, hikers get lost all the time, but around Dalton, about every year, one or two of them, they don't find them.
Okay.
And looking back, over, they kind of collected going all the way back to 5 years ago. You can see in the daily where there's a mention of visitors here who are seem to be interested in some of our local folklore. Make them welcome here in Dalton. We like to put on a friendly face. And then a couple of days later, there is just a small thing on one of the back pages. If anyone has seen Billy Coates, Sarah Gamble, Steve Barnwell, or John Vernon, please get in touch with Sheriff Cole. That sort of thing. So you could kind of tell that people knew they were here, and then people knew that they disappeared.
Okay. And then, obviously, I don't expect an exact pinpoint to this point, but maybe if we can narrow down the area with where did it go?
You start trying to kind of extrapolate a little bit of, from these stories, these hikers and things like that. All of them that seem to go missing got off of the main trails. They were free hiking in each case. And, a lot of them, it's not mentioned where they were going. But the one place that is mentioned, if anything is mentioned, is going south of Dalton.
Okay.
All right. Sherry, what you think? Are we all going to have some chili before we break up? It's y'all probably got there midday. You're muted, my love.
I think you have to have that first bowl of chili because the best chili is the 4 hour later chili, right? But the initial chili, you got to have it so you can taste it and figure out what you need to add to it, right? So I think that at least I and my crew have lined up for first chili and are ready to try it. So, but then we're discussing essentially if we go into town to talk to the people at the historical thing, what do we want to catch, what video do you want to catch on the way and stuff like that. So definitely, kind of going back over the path here to get that figured out. Because we got to get footage. We want to talk to passerbys and I'm sure that we've got all those, Dalton dailies that we could get on microfiche or whatever, loaded up on the laptop, and we're going through things, looking through stuff, going back through time. Like, when was the last person who disappeared?
Well, let's have you roll an investigate a mystery then.
Oh, okay. Let's see here. That's on Sharp, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Roll. I'm going to add 1. So that gives me a 7.
Okay, you get 1 hold.
All right, I'll take it.
Oh, something I didn't mention, just to give, we start with 3 luck. I cut us down to 3 luck. And to remind you what luck does, you can spend a luck point to automatically get a 12. And you use it after you roll. So you screw something up, you say, oh, I got to know this or do this. Spend it, you get a 12. Or it can be used to completely block 1 set of damage from a single source, no matter how big the damage is. If it's 1 or if it's 4, 1 luck point will keep that damage from getting you. So just to remember. Alrighty. What question would you like to ask there?
Okay, so let me look at this again. So I pulled that up. Basic move. Here it is. Okay, so I think that I want to know. We've kind of seen the pattern of the disappearances and like when they go off and everything. We also have a sense of some of the stories, the lore and things. So right now we're banding about what kind of creature we think it is.
Okay. The things you're reading and as you go through, they occasionally will mention in the daily about the witch.
Mhm.
And you get the feel because it's a very small paper, so it's written kind of in the vernacular. It's written a little bit less formally, and you can sense as you read it, they use the name the witch kind of almost like a joke. It's like, oh, the witch. They clearly do not think there's a witch out there.
Okay.
But there is this sort of, you're kind of picking up this menace when they talk about people going looking for the witch, or there'll be the hiker disappeared, heading south, seemed like they were going towards Summer Creek. Hope they didn't run across the witch. But pretty across the board, you get the feeling they don't think it's a person. They almost consider the area to be the witch. It does not feel like it always has that, going into the witch rather than finding a singular thing.
So it's like going into the fairy grounds or going into this dangerous territory. Okay.
Right.
All right. So we got something that's like about an area that's dangerous. Something happens there. Okay.
And it sounds like you're gonna, once you eat, you're planning to walk downtown, have a kind of talk as you go, but get to the historical society.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Derek, what are you thinking of doing? You've seen them investigating their way. What are you thinking of doing?
Yeah, well, I'd probably talk to Mavis, ask her what she thinks is going on. After all, she's a competent police officer.
So you want to head downtown, maybe sound like you want to, say, ride with Desiree, and when you get downtown, y'all split off?
Yeah, I also ate some of the chili and some of those marshmallows, and then I'll accompany them, yeah.
Jorge, you're hearing those two are heading downtown. What are you thinking of doing?
Well, I think I might just. Oh, Kenny. Sorry. I might just try get a bit. Wait, this is a tourist spot, right? They get
do.
tourists here, mostly for
Mostly
hiking.
the big time is when it's winter and they get skiers. So right now they have some hikers, but their big time of year is winter when there's skiers.
Yeah, but that means that they would have some sort of office or something where you could get maps and stuff like that. Yeah, then I would like to go there and look at some maps and figure out some stuff like what areas they don't have.
Do you want to go downtown and see if you could find something there, or do you want to go to the lodge here where you're staying? Because they have their big lodge in the middle, which would have that sort of stuff too.
Yeah, but I think I'd rather go with the others to town because you never know what will happen, and I feel better. I mean, they all have camera teams and stuff like that, except for Derek. But I feel better if I had kept my eyes on them, all of them, which feels like hurting cats, but well,
And just so I know, are you carrying any weapons? Obviously, probably not carrying a sniper rifle, but
No, but
do you
I am
have like a
carrying.
pistol or something with you?
Yes, I do have a pistol and I do have a knife, and I'm
Ah,
carrying. I think I'm carrying them, but not. I don't do open carry, and I might wear. I don't know if I'm wearing the flak vest. Probably do, because A, it's cold enough that it's not that I can wear a jacket over it, and B, you never know, right? You never know.
you never know.
Been in
And
this business for a while.
just to say, Kentucky is an open carry state. You are more than free to carry around a gun in Kentucky if you want to.
I'd rather not that everybody sees that.
True.
Just, you know.
All right. Sounds like you're heading into town then with that crew. Lucas, what are you thinking of doing?
Well, I'll head into town with the rest of them. And I know we have the lodge here, but is there also like a local park ranger or something like that?
Through your investigations, you do see that now it's outside of town, but they have like a fire watch station. So they have like the big fire watch tower, and there's an office there where there's always at least one ranger on premise. It's it's probably about a 20-30 minute drive outside of town.
Okay. Is it on the other side of the town from where we are?
No, actually, it's in the same your side of town. So you wouldn't have to go back through downtown because it's off. Where they've got like the ski slopes and everything. It's off in that direction.
Okay. And it doesn't happen to be south of Dalton, does it?
It does not. It happens to be west.
All right. Okay. So it probably doesn't have as good a vantage point as I thought it might. So, all right. Then I'll head into town and see if I can find some. I like the map idea. So
cool. All right. So we drive on into town, and as you know, the four of you hop out of the car. You'll see. You notice, the historical societies where you pull up to, and it's just right across the street that you see their very small sheriff's office. Think think Mayberry, think Andy Griffith style. Probably got 2 cells. It's a small police station. There is a cafe that is here downtown where you see cafe/bar. There is a big wooden bar inside, but outside there's seating, and you could see that there is a group of hikers that got their packs there and they're drinking beer. You're not sure if they're on their way out or they're on their way in, but either way, they seem to have had quite a few because they're busily, talking too loud, and a couple of them are singing songs, and they look a little lit. But you see the waitress come out with another round of beers on her tray and set it down. And then you've got the Piggly Wiggly over there, where you see a few folks in the parking lot going on. Let's start with I know, Sherry, you're going into the Historical Society. Anybody else want to go in with her? It is very likely they would have maps if that was something people wanted to do.
Yeah, I think I'd like to go in there because they might have some older
Okay.
maps as well.
Okay.
And Sabine?
I thought I'd go in, but maybe we shouldn't go, all 3 of us. So I think I'll maybe tag along with Derek.
Okay.
So because he doesn't have a large crew with him,
Okay. And
I want to get his take on who the lady is, because I don't know Desiree.
Nice. Okay. So we're going to start with the Historical Society, and my guess is that in both of your cases, Lucas and Desiree, you're not bringing your whole crew with you, are you? You've got, I think, Sherry, you talked about having somebody with a camera, maybe a camera microphone.
Yeah. Essentially, what it is I think if anything, I would sort of have my girl Marley, or Marcy, go along with Derek, with because she's a sound person, for her to record anything, so that later on I might be able to make use of it if something important comes on. But for the most part, she's just tagging along with them because they're two cute guys, right? And then it would just be like Terrence and myself, and I've got a tape recorder, so I can record anything that's said, and we'll capture it on the TV. I mean, on the camera that we have. So.
Cool. And Lucas, do you have any of your people there? Or are they setting up back at the lodge?
I trust that Desiree's crew can do their job with us, so I'll have my crew back at the lodge getting things prepped. And
excellent. All right, so I think 4 of you go into the historical society, and it's got this kind of rustic look to the front of it. But as you get to it, you can see it has, central heat and air. So probably if it isn't as old as they're trying to convey with it, but it's got that weathered kind of exterior. And it has very ornate carved doors, double doors that you can see kind of show in the carvings of people coming in and cutting trees down. And you see there's a mine scene carved in there. You could see farmers on another carved scene. And it's kind of like they're showing on the doors there the history a little bit of Dalton.
Excellent. We will take pictures of that and make sure that we catch it on the camera in case any of it ends up being useful later.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And as you go in, there's a little bit of a bell that's over the top. Ting, 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 ting. And inside you see there are pamphlets set up, and there are also some displays. A lot of it is their paintings around that really are quite good. And you can tell some of them are older, and they have, if you have a discerning eye, it is probably people who weren't trained formally, but just had a great talent for it. And a lot of them are pencil drawings rather than like painting. Actually, they're penciled in sets, and they show, some of them are portraits, some of them are landscapes. There is a desk there, and sitting behind it, you see a fairly young gentleman. He's wearing a sweater. He's got a pretty good sized beard. He's got little glasses on, and as he looks up, he's almost looks like he's surprised to see anyone come in. And then he sees it's a decent sized group of people, and there's a camera, and he, hi there.
Hello. Hi.
Can I help you?
Well, yes, you can. And she sort of stops and says, "We're here because we're looking into the Billy Coates disappearance.
Oh,
It was 5 years ago. So," and she sort of stops and goes, "I'm not saying that's part of your history, but we just wanted to get a sense of Dalton before we headed out,
well,
Due respects."
that was a real shame. They, everybody in town had seen them. They came in here, wanting to find out about Dalton. They seemed interested in some of the old folklore.
You know which kind?
Well, around here, there's an old legend that there's some old haunted hollers, that sort of thing. And sometimes people get in their heads that they could go and see a spook or a boogity. And, these hills, they ain't always forgiving. You go off a wrong track, and you might find yourself falling down a hole, or, there's bears out there, and them bears, black bear ain't particularly mean, but you get between them and a cub, and they'll take your leg right off.
Yeah. I mean, well, it was 4 people that went missing, so it was more than a bear, though. Maybe 4 bears.
Yeah, I guess. Why don't we have you roll a manipulate someone.
Okay, and I am going to do that. So,
If it's possible, I'd like to assist you.
okay.
Excellent. So why don't you go ahead then and roll help out? And how are you helping out? What do you say?
Well, one of the things I would like to know is, through their historical maps, if there's any previous sites to the south of the city that are no longer, built up, but previously were.
Roll me that help out. Let's see. Rolling with cool.
So 9.
All right. So that's a mixed result. So you're going to give that +1, but you also expose yourself to trouble in the process. Sherry, why don't we have you roll that manipulate someone, and you get a +1 going in.
Okay, so that gives me a total of +3. And I roll a 6, so that gives me a +9. So that gives me a 9, essentially.
Give you a 9?
Yeah. So
All right.
let's see here. I'm trying to think if I have. Oh, that looks like that's it. When you first start talking to witnesses, I get to roll charm. But we're recording everything, so that'll give me an advantage later.
All right. He goes, let's see. And so for the mixed result, they'll do it, but only if you do something for them right now to show that you mean it. He's like, look, some of these rumors get around, and it looks real bad for the town. I don't want this sort of thing splashed all over the big time newspapers.
Well, big time newspapers is not what you have to worry about with me. That's for sure.
No. She'll protect your town's reputation.
All right. Well, this is kind of off the record then. And I think, Lucas, you were saying you're kind of looking around at the maps and things, and as he looks, kind of moves in close, he says, they went looking for the witch down by Summer Creek.
Okay, where's Summer
Okay.
Creek?
Well, I'm just scared if I tell you, you're going to want to go there.
Well, it could also help us avoid it, right?
Yeah, I suppose. And that's when, Lucas, you've noticed on the map, and it's one of these pencil drawn-in maps, drawn maps. And you can see it's dated at 1846.
Okay.
And down to the south of Dalton, and you can see where Dalton's on the map, you see Summer Creek running from the top of a mountain down into a valley. But where there's a lot of detail around Dalton, where that creek goes into that valley, it's just all that's drawn on it is just like the vague outline of trees. And even where the creek, where it hits that set of trees, the map maker doesn't even bother to try to predict where it goes.
Okay.
Who's
Sherry? Who's your person that's with us?
That would be Terrence.
Okay. Terrence, this map's kind of interesting. I think we should probably get a shot of it.
He pulls up camera. Oh, yeah. Kind of gets good angles for it. And you see this young man who will have introduced himself as Clay.
Yeah.
Oh, Clay.
Clay, you've been absolutely most wonderfully helpful.
Well, ma'am, it's to the south. There's no roads that get there. About the only person that even lives anywhere near it. Well, it's old Granny McLean.
Granny McLean.
The McLeans, They've lived down that way for, well, as long as anybody can remember, but Granny's pretty much the last of them now. They own a whole heaping bunch of acreage down there, but they certainly don't get towards Summer Creek.
And she kind of stops and she goes, so seriously, you wouldn't ever go to Summer Creek?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, hell no. Pardon my language, ma'am. No, heck no. You know, I'm not one to believe in haints or anything, but there's something strange down that way. I hear enough stories, and he kind of looks back towards where you can see the books. There's some for sale, but you can see that there is kind of like the library here. It says, and there's more stories in them books.
Sure.
No.
Well, alrighty. He kind of moves back over and through, and he'll start pulling out some books for you.
All right.
And he's like, you know, we don't let anybody take them out. Some of them are pretty old, but you can feel free to read through them. He says, this is the one that when I was a kid really, really struck me. And he pulls down, and it's an old leather-bound book. You know, you're kind of a bibliophile, I suppose. You're in libraries a bunch. It feels pretty old. It's probably a turn of the century printing.
Ooh, I see.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, you know, there's a time when people came around the hills and tried to collect all the stories.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is one of these men, came down from New York City, as far as I understand, worked for the Random House.
Oh.
And
Sure.
No.
he turns to a story. This one always kept me up at night. And as the two of you read, it's a story talking about a frontiersman who was out basically blazing trail. Settlers were going to be heading west, and this is, 1802, 1803. And he found a very fresh spring creek going through a valley. It was so pretty underneath the sun, and it was so hot out and the water so cold, he called it Summer Creek. This is supposed to be at least a second or third hand story of what he told an old lady that found him wandering around out near that creek. Said that while he walked by the banks, that after a while, the creek started talking to him.
Wow.
Told him to head further up, that the spring had the freshest water. So he followed it, trying to find its source through this valley, but it wasn't just the creek talking to him. The trees would talk to him. The brush would talk to him. Even the birds were talking to him. And they were warning him. They were telling him to run. The creek's voice babbling at him was so sweet that he kept on following it. According to the storyteller, that's when the man broke down crying. Said he wished he'd never found that spring. And the last line on it is, I saw them, all of them. The little eyes, the little legs. They're crawling at me. They're crawling at me. And they want to get inside. It was said that's the last words he ever spoke.
Wow.
Okay, I can see why you weren't getting too much sleep after you read that one.
And
Especially as a kid.
it's old folk tales. There's a whole ton of them up in these mountains, but like I say, Summer Creek, a place that you really don't want to go to.
Heard other stories of sort of, I don't know, part of that area where things get weird for people.
Well, y'all feel free to look through. And he points through a section. And I'm going to cut away from there as the two of you start looking over some of these books. As Jorge and Derek and a red shirt or two head into the sheriff's office. Like I say, it's a small place, and it's got a wooden door with a glass front window on it, and it says Dalton Sheriff, and underneath it is Sheriff Richard Cole. And as you open up the door, it has a bell as well, ting 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 ting, and you can see that there's two desks on either side of this room, and there's like a little hallway straight ahead of you, and you can even see down the hallway at the end of it, there's a couple of cells. You see the bars of them, and there's a door off either side of that hallway that you can't see in. But sitting behind one of these desks, Derek, you see somebody you recognize. It's Mavis. And she looks up and goes, "Holy shit, Derek, is that you?"
It's me, Mavis. Good to see you. How are you?
Oh! She stands up and she comes over and she kind of, it's that awkward thing of, should I hug him or... And finally she breaks down and kind of gives you that pat on the shoulder. And she's, like I say, she's a tough looking lady. She's, even at her age, there's no fat to her. She's just bulky, kind of someone who could throw down in an alley if she had to, kind of lady. What in the world brings you up here?
Billy Coates and his friends. Is that something that rings a bell?
That's an old story, Derek. That's 5 years ago.
I know. His father, had a job and brought it to me and some others. He wants them found. That's why we are here.
I'll be honest with you, Derek. More than likely, all you're going to find is bones.
Well, that will close the case either way.
Who's your friend? And she kind of gives a look over at you, Jorge, and she gives you an up and down, and you're almost positive her eyes linger for just a moment where your gun is, kind of noticing a little bulkiness to what's underneath your sweater.
This is Jorge Ortiz.
I'm keeping my hands where she can. I'm keeping my hands where she can see him, and I'm nodding, smiling.
She looks at you, Derek. So the two of you are looking into this.
Maybe there are others. Is this important? How many? Or
well, you're a friend, and I got to tell you, if you go off to where, if you go the same route that they did, the more the better. Dangerous down there. These people tell all kinds of crazy stories about it, but ain't no doubt about this in my mind. Hikers shouldn't go there. It's dangerous.
Did you go there? Did you see anything?
We went down, the sheriff and I. At least, we went down to where to the creek. But there's no trails back up in there, and the sheriff wasn't over eager to go searching too far.
Okay. He wasn't too eager, so he just didn't search for them.
We searched all over the place for them. Just, that valley, well, nobody really goes into it.
If you don't mind me asking,
I think we have to go.
Yes, Jorge?
how many people were there involved in the search?
Oh, the whole town kind of rallies itself when hikers go missing, and they checked all the hills, checked about, and held search parties. I bet you a good 20, 30 folks all told.
Oh, nice. But everywhere but that valley.
You can't convince any of these people here to go in that valley. Now, we did call in state. They flew a helicopter over, loudspeakers. I mean, it's not that big. It's at most like 40 miles square. If anybody had been there, they'd have heard the chopper. They'd have heard from it, and they'd see anything. My guess is, they probably, there's a lot of dangers down in those mountains. Not just stories people tell, but there's caves, there's old mines. Rocks get dangerous.
So a lot of places where you might hear a helicopter and speakers, but you might not be able to answer. I think we have to go there and have a look ourselves. Even 5 years later, that's the only possibility left.
Well, I'm going to give you a piece of advice, Derek. If you're going to go down there, don't let it be widely known.
Nobody will follow us, will they?
No, but they may not be over happy that you're going to go. They don't like stories coming back from there.
They don't have to be happy. I will be more happy when I find something. Do you have anything else for us?
Why don't you roll me a manipulate someone?
Can I help?
You certainly can. How do you think you're helping?
I think I'm helping by, I would ask her if there was anybody who was particularly interested in keeping the stories of the town to itself, somebody who lived here, some family. I imagine these small places, right, there are families that have been here since forever. Somebody like that, maybe?
Okay. Why don't you roll your cool, see if you help out.
Yeah, okay. Let's see how that goes. Okay, I've rolled a 6, but I've got a cool of 2, so it's an 8.
8, so could put yourself in a little danger here, but we'll see how Derek does.
The Naked City move gives me a +1 to investigate a mystery, but that's not what I'm doing here, right?
Nope, you're manipulating at the moment.
So that doesn't help. Okay.
And you're rolling your charm, and you get a +1 coming from Sabine.
Yeah. Charm. 2. So it's +3 already. Okay, that's good. Huh. 5 + 3 is 8.
All right. She looks at the two of you. Look, Sheriff is not going to be happy to hear that someone else is going in there. It's bad when people disappear. This Coates and his crew disappearing like that. Stayed on his ass. Parents calling. If he finds out, he will stop you from going.
Okay.
I mean, it's to protect people. He's not a bad guy, but he don't want to see anybody get hurt.
Yeah, well, maybe tell him when we are already there.
Derek, You always had a problem with sticking yourself in situations that, well, no sane person should get into.
There is no other way.
Sanity is overrated anyway.
She kind of smiles at that. Well, you two boys be careful. And points over at, was it Marcy with the recording device?
Yep.
I'm guessing, young lady, that you weren't recording me without my permission, were you?
And she sort of stops and says, looks down and goes, nope.
I should hope not. All right, we're going to pop back over, I think, to the library. I think read a bad situation is probably the best thing for looking over all this stuff. So
Okay.
who do we think's taking lead, and who do we think's doing the help out on this one?
So,
Because let's see, that's going to be off of Sharp.
okay. So I have a sharp of 1. So does
I have a 2.
2. So I will assist.
Alrighty, let's have a roll there for helping out. And I think it seems like y'all are just, you're going through your books. I think I can see pretty easily how everybody's working here and how you're helping out.
So what do you add to help? Is it just straight?
Cool.
Oh, well, that's too bad. So anyway, that is a 8.
Okay, so you get a +1 there, Lucas. But you are caught up in potential trouble here, there, Desiree.
Problem. We're just all going to drag each other into a horrible morass.
So that's a 10.
Nice. All right. So on a 10, you get to hold 3. So you're getting to ask 3 questions.
Okay.
So what would you like to ask off that list? And since it's the first time doing it, what's my best way in? What's my best way out? Are there any dangers we haven't noticed? What's the biggest threat? What's most vulnerable to me? And what's the best way to protect the victims?
Okay.
And you'll get a +1 to act on the answers later on.
Okay, so it's this one here. Read a bad situation. What are the dangers we haven't noticed?
All right. You, as the two of you are going through these books, there's something that kind of strikes you on one of the stories. It's talking about quite some time ago, I'll say 1880s, that the McLeans had set up a still down near Summer Creek where it comes out of the valley. Seemed like the water there was clear and pure, and so they were brewing up their mash using the creek water. That batch of mash, though, first batch right out of that still, well, they sold out that shine to folks around town, and that's when the troubles started. Said that shine drove people mad. There were 2 shootings. And old man Clemens, well, they found him up in a tree. Seems as though he thought he was an owl. He was wrong, he found out when he jumped.
All right. Yes. Sherry, you were assisting me. Do you want to take one?
Sure. Thank you. That is very generous. Let's see here. I think if I could go to this is, wow. What's gonna be the best way in then?
Again, looking at, seeing maps, even that fairly good one that's up on the wall, there's no one who seems to have made a map of the valley itself. But they have made the hills that surround it. And you can see that, the far end where one would guess the creek has a spring there's a mountain, good sized mountain there. Very steep. None of the maps give it a name. You probably could go and maybe look on a geologic survey to see, but nobody there, no map shows a name for that mountain. But it is extremely steep and rocky, by any indication of the map, or as you're kind of looking through the books, it's described as being almost just sheer when it gets towards the top. The other end of the valley, though, is you find tons of talk about the McLean family. They've been a part of Dalton pretty much as far back in these books as you can read. And a lot of the, when you hear mention of kind of weirdnesses, a McLean name pops up. And one thing you read in there, this is like a town yearbook that you're reading, but it's not like a school yearbook. It's more like the events of Dalton of 1911.
Mm-hmm.
And you've skipped through the kids that graduated, and there's a story there of a young man who's going off to be in the middle leagues for baseball. But one thing that catches your eye is story of Gladys McLean having a daughter, and they're talking about that. Welcoming in the newest of the McLean clan, but kind of reading between the lines, they mention her being blessed. Came in with the Lord's hands over her eyes.
Ooh.
And both of you have studied enough of the odd. She was probably born with a caul. And many people consider that to be an indication of powers.
But no one has ever said that the witch is a McLean, right?
No.
Is that about the right age for old Granny then?
As you kind of are looking through things, you never see it, at least in anything else you're reading, there's never an announcement for another McLean birth.
That's her then. All right. So I think we're going to have to go see Granny McLean.
And your last question, Lucas?
Yeah. What's the best way to protect the victims?
You begin to catch a thread through all of these stories. And, in a lot of cases, it's just disappearances, or it's people saying things from the periphery, the hill above looking down on Summer Creek Valley, that sort of thing. But over and over again, they begin hearing things. That's the first indication in most of these stories that something's going strange. They start hearing voices. And these voices tempt them.
Okay.
All right. I think I'm going to do my my mixed result there on you, Desiree, because it's as you're kind of the two of you are really just in these books, so you probably are a little kind of as you notice there's a figure looking in the window directly at you. He's tall, thin, kind of rugged looking, got a mustache, weather-beaten skin. He's got on a hat, got a badge right there. And as you look up and look at him, he sort of moves around to come in the back door.
Okay. I do a little wave.
He opens up. Hi there.
Hello.
I'm Sheriff Cole. You
Oh,
folks look new.
we are
Yes,
visiting.
sir.
Dalton loves to see visitors. You coming up to take in the trails?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Name's Lucas. Yours, sir?
Richard Cole. Sheriff Richard Cole.
Nice to meet you, Sheriff. Sheriff Cole?
Looks like you got a little equipment there. You folks members of the press by chance?
Yes, sir.
Doing a travel log, maybe? Showing the sights?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir. This fine town of yours.
Really?
It's a series, off season is what it's called.
Oh. If there's anything I can do to help, be more than happy to. You know, we try to show our best foot. I'll tell you, some of the trails to the north are the absolute best you'll see. You walk some of the ridges there, views that just go for miles.
Really?
Oh. Okay. That's great to know, Sheriff. Thank you.
Say your name was Lucas
Wainwright.
Wainwright, and you, ma'am?
Oh, my name's Desiree. And she kind of goes, here, I'll go get the maps and you can show us which are the best paths to take.
I'll be happy to.
And I'll hand him a card.
What's your card say?
It says that Lucas Wainwright, investigative reporter, and it says Wainwright Press.
Okay. He takes it. Oh, well, thank you. I'll put this right on in here. He puts it in his billfold. Says, well, yeah, look in here, and he'll spend a few minutes kind of looking, pointing you on the maps and showing you, and he points out where the ski runs are. There are some like downhill ski runs, but a lot of it is also like cross country. This is really good space for cross country. And he is exclusively pointing you to the north and the west.
Okay.
But he seems fairly friendly about it all once you've told him these things. And after a few minutes, he says, now, if you have any other questions, feel free to come by the sheriff's office. Oh, I'm sure Clay here can tell you anything you need to know. He nods over to Clay.
And she goes, we're always interested in any sort of, local color stories, folklore, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, then I would suggest going and bellying up to the bar at the Lager.
Ooh.
Yeah.
It looks crowded over there, though.
Well, they get a good little crowd, and you'll probably hear all the stories you want to hear about Dalton.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Sheriff.
And he kind of starts walking out, and he looks over at Clay, and you can see that Clay is sweating this whole time. He says, he says, Clay, you going to be at the prayer meeting tonight? Clay says, yes, Sheriff, of course, Sheriff. Well, I'll have to hear about your mama. Tell her I said hey. And he heads out, but you could see that Clay does not have a poker face, and he looked kind of worried as the sheriff leaves. He comes over. Y'all, well, I will be closing up pretty soon.
It's my name, Polly. You still work here?
Well, yes, ma'am. She's retired now, but yeah, Miss Polly, she taught me everything I know.
Oh, do you think it would be okay if we stopped and visited her?
He kind of goes, well, yeah, I'm sure she'd love to have visitors, but
Yeah, where does she live? And she get the things out, and she goes, and also, if we go, I want to take a housewarming gift. So what is it that she would particularly like?
well, Miss Polly likes flowers, but she also likes a little bit of the, well, that sweet kind of wine.
Oh,
do you know which one?
Blue Nun, I think she calls it.
I know
Okay.
exactly. Piggly Wiggly's it is. All right.
And he ushers y'all on out.
All right.
Thank you. You've been great. Very helpful, Clay.
Well, feel free to come back in, and folks, what I told you, believe me, y'all don't want to head south. And he shuts the door. I think we'll have the group of you meet back up around the van.
Yep. I'll have a bottle of Blue Nun in my hand.
You ran over to the Piggly Wiggly real quick?
Exactly.
Okay, it's a small place, but you definitely could pull some Blue Nun, and they're very friendly as you move through, and they notice you're from out of town, and you're like, oh, you should see the sights, sort of thing.
I'll get some flowers too.
Okay, they have that, the set bouquets thing. You there might be somewhere you could get a florist or somewhere that sells it, but the Piggly Wiggly has some things. And as y'all get back to the van there, I'll give you a minute. Derek, what do you say as you come walking up?
Well, I'll tell the others about that we are not supposed to go there into that valley and that it's dangerous, but I don't care. I want to find the remains or whatever is left of our possible victims.
So here's the thing. I told a story about essentially the McLean family in the still. This is, I don't know if the water just runs with hallucinogenics or what's going on. But we might want to make sure that we take like plenty of our own water and how should we say? It may look beautiful, but maybe not drink any.
Do you tell us about the whispers and the sounds that the people heard?
The sounds of the story. In fact, she'll play it back. Well,
Nice. Maybe we should take some Walkmans or something.
Ooh,
Sorry, what did you say? Should take.
Maybe we should take some Walkmans or something.
I have recording equipment.
I mean,
You think it's
that's not what I
No.
meant. It's not for recording.
Oh, okay, yes.
That's a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
And as y'all are kind of getting back into the van, you notice the sheriff move over, and he goes into the sheriff's office, and he's kind of given the once over of the whole crew of you, but he, kind of tips his hat and goes on in.
And I'm like, quick, let's go see Polly. I want to find out what she told Billy before they went off.
All right, everybody want to go to Polly's? Going as a group? All righty. You start heading off, and you taking the directions, you head just a little bit off of the main drag of town to where there are some really rather, just very pleasant little houses. You could guess that maybe back in the day, the mine would have built these houses for the workers because they're all very similar. But they're all pretty, and you see all the yards are well kept, and you guess that these were passed down once the mine closed and they went into private ownership, and they've just been passed down family to family to family. And as you pull up to Polly's place, she does have a beautiful yard. You can see that she has her azaleas, and they're in bloom here in spring, and they're riot of white and red. And she has her early daffodils that are just all across the front of her house in their flower bed. And as you head up onto the porch, she has a welcome mat out, and she has a little sign that's on the door that says all friends are welcome.
Oh, she seems nice, and her forsythias are gorgeous. And I'll ring the doorbell.
A few moments later, it's opened, and a very pretty older lady, probably in her 70s, but very much that prim, very proper little old lady. Her hair is done just perfect. Even if she wasn't planning to go out, she still put on a little lipstick, got a little rouge. She's dressed very nice. It has her jewelry on, and she opens up. Oh, hello.
Hi, my name is Desiree. And she goes, we were just over at the Historical Society, and Clay said you lived over here, and we wanted to talk to you.
Oh, and she looks at the crew there, the bunch of you. Well,
You look so wonderful, ma'am. Are you going out?
well, I was going to go down to the Piggly Wiggly in just in a little while, but I certainly have time for guests. I rarely get so many.
Oh, thank you for letting us interrupt you.
Please, come right in. And Lucas and Desiree, y'all don't look particularly alarming, but Jorge, I'm guessing, is a pretty good sized guy.
Oh, I don't think he's a threatening sized guy, actually.
Okay.
But he's fit. I'm pretty sure you can see that he's fit, but he tries to seem friendly. He doesn't usually succeed, but he tries.
Okay.
I want to ask a question, though.
Certainly.
She's 70, you said, about any sign of ailing health or health issues at all with her?
You could tell when she like opens the door and moves, she walks kind of slow. If you had to guess, she probably has like foot problems. And giving her the look over, because you're a medical person.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Why don't we have you? Let's have you roll. This is going to be an act under pressure for the purposes of what we're doing. But I'm gonna have you. I think we're going to let you roll that with sharp, because this is you really trying to give a look at.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay. I will roll plus sharp.
Excellent.
I've got an 8.
You can tell as she moves that one of her feet is larger, is swollen, and it goes swelling up to the ankle. And with your trained eye, she probably has some problems with circulation, and that there's probably some underlying health issues here.
Okay.
And I think for our mixed bit, we're going to. She kind of notices you looking at her leg, and she kind of takes your hand and pats it. Oh, don't mind me. I don't get around as well as I used to, but I'm still spry.
Oh, you move very well. I'm hoping to be as fit when I'm your age, but maybe you should see a doctor about that.
Oh, I've seen a few doctors about it. They give me all the pills I need.
No, that's good to hear.
Yeah. And Derek, I think you're pretty intense, aren't you? You're a no nonsense sort of guy.
No, not at all. I'm always skeptical and like, you could be the murderer.
And so as you kind of come in last, she, young man, would you? And she kind of looks. Can I get you something? A little iced tea?
Yes, I'll take one. Then I pour a few drops of my flask into it to upgrade it.
She will go and get a pitcher of iced tea and bring it out to you. It is very sweet. And she says, "Well, what can I do for you?"
Well, first, man, do you have a vase for these lovely flowers?
Oh,
Clay said you liked flowers.
well, those are just my good. Well, visitors with gifts. And she reaches over and pulls a vase off the mantle. Sherry, you were saying something, but we're muted.
Oh yeah, and I'll put the bottle of wine on the sort of receiving table. That's right there, where you do that. So
And she sort of smiles and goes, "Oh, and wine. Oh,
just a little something.
well, it's a little early in the day. If you don't mind, I think I'll enjoy this with dinner."
That makes absolute sense.
And she's just beaming. This is a real thrill for her to have folks here. And I think since y'all, did these things, I'm going to give you a +1 forward for y'all when we're dealing with her for this scene. Well, what brings you by?
And I think Desiree will stop and say, we were looking into stories about, Kentucky and some of the interesting places here, and this came up. And she sort of stops and she goes, well, it's because Billy Coates and his group disappeared.
Oh. And you see her face kind of pale.
And she goes, well, we know that, hikers, they get lost and stuff all the time. We get that. She kind of goes, but I think they were looking into something supernatural, weren't they?
Well, and you could tell this is really kind of struck her. She sort of hesitates. I think we're going to need to manipulate someone here.
Okay.
Who feels like they're doing it? Is it you, Desiree?
Yes, I think I would be willing to do that.
Okay. And is somebody helping?
I can try to help. I mean, just looking over at her and then kind of looking that she's not paling out or something, like she has health issues, right? So,
So you kind of take her hand, like, make sure she's okay.
Yeah, exactly.
And as you take her hand and, being reassuring, you could feel her pulse is really beating. So roll that health.
So, okay. Roll. That's what's cool, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So I've rolled a 6, so it's an 8.
Okay, you could be. We got that mid result, but you get a +1, Sherry.
All right. And I rolled a 9, and you add 3 to that, and that's a 12.
Woo!
Yeah.
Ooh.
So she's willing to help you without too much going on with that. You basically said you're trying to, find out about it. She's like, and she pats your hand, Jorge. She's like, I think I told them about Summer Creek.
What about Summer Creek?
I shouldn't have told them. They said that they were, well, he was such a nice young man, and he was interested in all the old folk tales, and there's not much of a bigger tale than the witch. I may have told him, well, that if he went off down back of the McLean property, that there's, I shouldn't say it. I told them that there's a road that'd take them there. They never came back. I mean, I just thought it was an old story. There's all kinds of old stories.
There are. And she goes, and one is just, there's a lot of stories that are like this that don't sound any more dangerous, right?
Well, I mean, I tried to warn them that, people don't go there. But that road, don't nobody ever travel it, but it don't ever grow up. It's always clear.
Is it a dirt road?
Yes, ma'am. It used to be an old cart track.
Was it for the vine?
What's that?
For the vine, or for something before that?
Well, it's even before the mine. As far as I can tell, at least the things I studied, it was one of the old tracks that the settlers first came into the hills.
Is there anything odd in her house? So while she's talking, I'll have a look and stroll around a bit, look at the pictures and in the cupboards, or anything that catches my eye.
Alrighty. I don't think this goes all the way to an investigate or a read a bad, so I'm going to have you roll, do an act under pressure, but with sharp.
Okay. Sharp 1. Act under pressure. So. So 8 in total.
All right. You're kind of walking around, and she's kind of engrossed with the people that are right up next to her, and her emotions have kind of overcome her. So she's not paying that much attention to you as you kind of leave the parlor and you look in, seeing her dining room and the kitchen beyond, and you kind of look down the hallway and you can see that there's a couple of bedrooms, but there in the hallway is a bookshelf. And as you kind of look to the bookshelf, you can see that they're, amongst all of her other books, and she has everything from, she clearly likes history, so there's some history books there. There's some bird watching books. There's some books on gardening. She has a few romance novels. You can see there's an old leather-bound book. And you can see stamped on the side of it is property of the Dalton Historical Society. Now, you could reach up there and get this book, but more than likely she will notice that.
Maybe I try to distract her before I do that, and just put my glass with iced tea on the corner of a table next to her and put it in a way that it will fall down a second later.
All right, and I'm going to go off of the act under pressure you've already rolled for this.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the glass does kind of tip over, and she sort of starts and to grab at it, and Jorge, and you're right there at her. Do you kind of reach to grab it as well?
I think that I know Derek, right? He's not usually clumsy, so I will try to grab it, and it will just fall. So we
Gotcha.
have a bit of a mess, and then I guess he wants a distraction, so I'll just lean into that and start fussing around that she should stay there and be careful, and there's glass all over, and nobody should cut themselves, and then cause a little bit more fuss than yeah.
And she's like, "Oh, let me get it." Oh,
I'll ask her where her broom is and that sort of stuff.
All right, so things start moving around. So Derek, you have a free shot to get this book. Are you just going to take it and run off with it, or do you want to look at it real quick here? What are you thinking?
No, I'm going to steal it. I'll put it in my trench coat, and since it's a 7 to 9, it's maybe she'll check later so that she sees it when it's gone.
All right, pilfering from a little old lady. Yes, sir. And you get the book and you stash it to the side, and as you pull it out, behind the book, up on the like where the back of the bookshelf is, in the space there, you see that hanging on the back there is a little small bag, not like that big, tied with a leather thong. Looks like the thong is fairly long. It's like something you could maybe put around your neck, or could wrap around something.
So can I take it too when I get the book?
You can.
Okay, I just take it and put it into my bag or into my trench coat.
As you take it, you feel something like an electric shock almost in your hand. You feel like almost as though this little bag is angry that you would touch it.
Okay.
And it's sort of, as you pull it away, that it almost burns for a moment before the heat dissipates, and that feeling kind of passes over. It's just momentary.
Yeah. I rub my hands and I'm kind of shaking. Or
as you rub your hand, you look down and see that in your palm is a blister. Good size one, about like that big. And it has a blackish hue to it. And I'd like for you to take one harm.
Okay.
Anybody have anything else they want to talk with Polly about?
Yeah, I want to ask her if she thinks it would be a good idea if we talk to Granny McLean.
Oh, well, Granny doesn't like visitors very much.
Really? Even if we took her gifts?
Well, you darn sure better take her a gift if you're going out there.
Oh.
She's an odd duck. I will say that.
What kind
Do you happen to know what she likes? Sorry, Sherry.
That's okay.
She kind of looks over towards where she had stashed the blue nun. She says, well, a drink'll go a long way, but she likes stronger stuff than the Blue Nun.
Does she like bourbon or just whiskey?
I'm sure a good Kentucky bourbon would make her plenty happy.
Right. I think that seems like a very reasonable gift.
And I think she, you've given her these gifts, and we've got a little. She kind of likes you, and she sort of spilled this to you. She'll lean in and she'll say, but when you talk to her, be careful. They say she has the eye.
Mm. Like the evil eye?
Well, it sure ain't good.
Oh.
I appreciate the warning, man.
Thank you.
And that's where I think we're going to stop for our second break. We have about an hour and 20 minutes left, so we're going to take 5 minutes. We're going to go to 15 to the hour. And seems like we've done a bit of our investigating, maybe a little bit more piecing, maybe go visit the McLean, and we'll roll on through.
Okay.
So see y'all at 15 till. All righty, we'll give Sherry a second to get back.
Tyler, I could listen to your little old ladies for the whole evening.
I love a sweet old lady. I have to admit, they pop in my games a lot.
Yeah, I remember in the Gauntlet Con game last year, you had a mean old lady. That was something. She was the worst.
She was terrible. She's the other side of the church lady, Southern church lady type. She was the judgmental and mean one.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. You wanted to like her because she was a little old lady and she had this funny accent, but whoa,
she was awful.
She was awful.
Yeah, that's a great adventure there. That's Ollie Jeffries' adventure there. That's very much the Hellraiser. It's very cool.
Yeah, Ollie's a cool guy.
Oh, love Ollie. All right, so we've had our chance to speak with Polly here, and we've gained a little bit of information. I'm going to do just a quick wrap-up summation of, we heard from Turnbull that they didn't really go investigate into that valley. Nobody seems to go there. Though, helicopters, and they at least did that sort of little search. But we've gotten an idea of some strange things that happen. We hear that people hear voices. Seems like something's up with that creek. And Polly pretty much gave them directions so that it seems very likely that is where they went. And we've heard about Granny McLean. So, Lucas, what you think you're wanting to do now?
Well, I think we should probably gather some gear together and then head over to the McLeans and see if we can't get permission to take that old road.
Does that seem like what everybody's thinking? Jorge? Yeah?
Yeah, pretty much. We should get going to this
Desiree, Derek?
thingy.
I look forward to hiking in the dark. Yes, let's do it.
All right. Well, y'all take one of the vans and head off towards the McLeans.
We've secured a sufficient bourbon. So.
And you've gotten a nice bourbon out of the Piggly Wiggly. And just so I know, how many people are you taking your full crew, Desiree?
No, they're sort of my crew in the sense that they would stay back at the thing, if that makes sense. So
absolutely.
I will be taking the camera, and I'll be taking my tape recorder and my laptop, but essentially, hopefully I bring stuff back for them.
Okay.
I leave them everything that I say, essentially I give them the tapes of everything that I've done so far, but I have recordings on my laptop so I can review it and all of those things.
Nice. And Lucas, I'm guessing you're leaving your folks behind, or are you taking anybody with you?
Yeah, I'm leaving mine behind because they're, unless we have a place for them to actually set up, they're just not of any use.
Cool. So, sounds like the four of you heading in, and first you go on some paved roads till you finally come to a dirt road. There are mailboxes at this turnoff to the dirt road. You're guessing that this would have been for everybody that lives off down that road, but all of them look like they're in bad shape, and only one of them, as you come driving by, even looks serviceable. But you do see that written on each and every one of them is McLean, and a number. As you head down this dirt road, and it is now, probably about 4:30 in the afternoon, and it's spring, and you're up in the mountains. So right now the sun's out, bright and shiny, and it's fairly warm. And you head back along this dirt road. It's a well-used dirt road in the sense that it's been used so often that it's kind of sunken. So it has little banks on either side of it. And as you're heading down it, you notice behind you a car coming. Appears to be a police car. And the lights blink at you as it pulls up closer behind you. Do you stop?
I mean, we're going to the McLeans. It's not anything other than that.
I guess it's the sheriff who wants to stop us.
So, I suppose you'll pull over.
All right. As you kind of you end up just kind of getting a little to the shoulder again. It's kind of got those banks.
Can't really that much though, can you?
So he stops behind you and gets out of the car and comes up and excuse me, gives everybody a look. It even takes a minute to really kind of look at Derek and Jorge, who we hadn't met yet, and have a very different vibe, both of them, than Lucas and Desiree. And he goes, Mr. Wainwright.
Yes, sir.
I'm really thankful you gave me your card. I made a few phone calls.
Oh.
Doesn't seem like most of your work is in travel logs now, is it?
It depends on the type of travel logs you're looking at, sir.
I'm just wanted to give a little friendly advice. Y'all should stay up on those trails I pointed out for you.
We will, sir.
Going to visit Granny McLean?
Yes, sir.
I'm sure she'll give you an earful.
Possibly.
Don't get any ideas in your head. Start going off too far back in these hills.
What are you afraid of, Sheriff?
Oh.
I mean, for us, I understand that you could handle it.
Well, back up in those directions, people get lost mighty easy. Get hurt. Ain't real easy to get back there and help them.
What do you think might cause that, sir?
Oh, there's bears, rock slides. You know, foolish people could find themselves in very, very bad situations.
Not us. Not us. Don't worry.
I never considered myself to be very foolish, sir.
Well, if you don't head off into those particular hills, I won't either. Well, just trying to give you a little warning.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
If I find you trespassing where you shouldn't ought to be, well, the accommodations back at my office are a little less cushy than they are at the lodge.
I would agree with that.
I think, let me look at moves here real quick.
Could I stop and look at him and say, maybe, and she kind of goes, could we get this on camera? And she goes, not the warning, threatening bit, but essentially that you don't want us to go back there.
Young lady, I'd rather we not have me on any sort of camera.
But it'll make it seem spookier for the viewers.
Ma'am, I suggest you listen to what I've told you.
Okay.
Derek, I want you. I think you're used to dealing with a lot of nefarious sorts, and possibly being threatened. Um, so why don't we have you roll read a bad situation here?
Okay. I already was about to provoke him and ask if trespassing is the right term for a place he just isn't, I don't know, capable of going or doesn't want to or something like that. But okay, I read 10
We can have you say so. You say that at him as you give him a little once over there.
Yep, maybe I read the situation, and if it's a 7 to 9 or something like that, I might slip something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Plus sharp.
Plus sharp.
Ah, that works. Oh no. 3, 4, 7 plus 1 is 8.
8. So that's a mid result. You're going to get to hold 1. And I think it's fair to say you kind of made that comment to him about, is that really trespassing?
Yeah. What do you mean by trespassing? Is it owned by anybody?
And he'll kind of turn to look at you because he's been paying a little more attention up there towards Lucas and Desiree. He's going to turn, and he's turned his face to look at you just very directly through this side window. And I don't think anybody else can quite see him full on, but you do. And as he's looking at you, you can see in his eyes, like where his pupils are, they're deep. And you would swear that you can see something like a reddish light. And as he looks at you, he says, trespassing is going where I tell you ain't supposed to be. And a fly lands on his eye and just walks across it, and he doesn't blink at all.
Okay.
And you get a question.
Yeah, I don't know. The question, what's most vulnerable to me, means what's his weakness?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll ask that.
You notice now, as that fly kind of it's a little shocking to see, but you notice there's a cloud of them kind of buzzing around him.
Oh, okay.
And as he says that last bit, you see one fly out of his mouth. You didn't see it go in, just fly out. And there's just something about him. You're not speaking to just one man. There's some things inside of him.
Can I piece together that he is kind of controlled or something like that?
You can certainly make that you can assume anything you want. It certainly seems like there's something got a hold of him.
Because I'm just thinking of about just opening the door and hitting him, but I don't know if he's a swarm of flies that would make so much sense. Now, for now, I won't do it.
He sort of steps back after he said that and just remember what I told you, and begins moving back towards his car. But you'll notice now that he stepped back a little bit, his hand was sitting on his gun the whole time. and his hand doesn't leave that area as he walks away, and he kind of keeps an eye on you as he walks.
Did you see that? His red eyes, the flies. Did you get any of that?
No, I was more intent on his gun, actually.
Sherry, you're muted.
You're muted, Cherry.
I think she goes, wait, what are you talking about? And you see her like take the camera that was sitting on the seat that was sort of shooting out the rearview window, So, and she'll like play you can see her play stuff back in the viewfinder. Do we see anything on the camera?
Again, it was his angle, so his face you can't see, but on the camera you do see these flies around him, kind of just buzzing around his head, and it's almost that like they're attracted to him. There are a lot of them now that you're paying attention and looking.
Are they attracted to him, or are they coming from him?
It's hard to say, but there aren't a lot of them elsewhere, and so seeing them like land on him and fly off, maybe.
Maybe we should go back and get a bunch of bug spray.
You might need some more information from your deputy friend at some point.
I don't think she's aware of what's going on with him. And I check my gun, which has 6 bullets in it, and I think probably not the perfect weapon to engage with those flies. Maybe now's the time to have a look into that book and into that thing that burned my hand.
All right.
Just remember that.
Oh, yeah. You tell us about that now? Like while we're sitting here in these ruts in the road on the way to Granny McLean's?
And the sheriff has gotten in his car and he backs up. And you get the impression he's going to have to back to somewhere to turn around.
Mm-hmm.
But he backs up maybe 100 yards or so and then stops.
I think we're going to meet this person or fly or whatever it is again, and I'd prefer it if it were out in the wilds where nobody would see us engaging with a police person, because that's usually more trouble than it's worth. I mean,
And Desiree stops and goes, sounds like you have experience with this. And she'll sort of go forward, but she'll drive like she's looking for a place to turn around, but she's not really. So she's like, okay, so tell us the story, Derek.
So Derek, you open up this book first, and it seems like it's a rebinding of a journal. And the journal seems to be from a young lady. Her name is Doris McLean. And she's talking about, there's a lot of it is the boy down the way that I like. And, the tomatoes are coming in good this year. And, that sort of stuff. But you get to a center point of this journal, and you see that there is those little bookmarks that are clip-on things, little slide clips for a bookmark. And you could see that there is one of those, and it has PP initialed in it, which you guess might be Polly Pritchett. But in that particular entry, Doris talks about how she went gathering blackberries down towards Summer Creek, and talks about how she heard the witch speaking to her. But she knew what she was supposed to do, because her mama and her mama before her had told all the McLeans how you handle the witch. And she began whistling. And says that the witch likes tunes. It'll make her dance. It makes the voices not want to talk to you no more.
Okay. So I read that part out loud for the others. Does anybody want to have a look? I'll hand over the book, and what was the other thing? It was a small thing that burned my hand and a
Little bag, and
yeah, that's right.
as you pull it out and open it up, first thing that hits you is something you recognize: the smell of gunpowder. And as you kind of, I don't know, maybe reach in to see what's in it.
Maybe I'll use gloves this time.
All right. You reach in and feel something hard. And as you pull it out, it's a finger bone.
Okay. And the gunpowder smell is...
It's inside, there's gunpowder inside this little bag.
Okay.
One very, very weird question, but if it's a bone, does it have kind of, it's just a bone, it's not a flute or something like that. It's not a
As
whistle.
you look it over, you can see that indeed it is, it's hollow where the marrow has come out. And you can see there are little drill holes carved down into the finger bone.
It's a whistle. So cute. It's a human finger bone, I assume.
Those of you that are a little more, that know a little of the supernatural, some of you certainly have. This might be like a grist bag or a fetish bag, would be the sort of thing supposed to ward off evil.
Oh my gosh.
So we have a bone whistle, some gunpowder, and what exactly was burning my hand before?
Just touching it seemed to do it.
Okay.
Maybe like,
So it was warding off me.
Probably more like warding of not Polly.
That makes sense. So Polly is more talented than we thought.
Or someone was looking after her.
Huh.
I mean, librarian in this place. Would be surprised if she hadn't picked up any tricks.
Mm-hmm.
Your slow crawl with the van has reached a clearing.
Oh, just look like this one.
Okay.
Or where Granny McLean lives.
You see that there are several buildings in this clearing, like an old barn. There are a couple of cabins, houses, and they, almost all of them look pretty dilapidated, except for one. And around it, you see are planted some vegetables, some herbs, and you can see that there's some smoke coming up out of the chimney.
Right. And then turn back and say, should we go talk to her?
Yeah, I think we should.
We came this far.
All right.
As you get out of the van and close your doors, stepping out of the front door of the cabin is a very old woman. She's wearing all black, a black dress, very old-fashioned, and she has on clunky black shoes and hose. She's got a kind of gnarled old stick that she's walking with. And she is very, very pale, but despite being quite old, her hair is jet black as well. And she, as you come, hey, what you doing on my land?
Howdy, ma'am. We're here to see if we can speak with you.
Speak with me? What do you want?
Well, we was wondering if we might be able to get your permission.
For what?
Well, Why don't we go inside? My friend's got a present here for you, and we can talk.
Why don't you give me a present if you're going to out here, and it can talk just fine on the porch. Ain't no reason for people to be coming up in my house.
Okay.
She'll kind of hobble over towards you. Come on, take a seat.
All right.
Thank you. Your porch is very comfortable.
You said something about a present.
Mm-hmm. And
Yes.
I think we'll bring out the bourbon and some glasses that we bought.
Got a little sip and drink, eh?
Just a little something. We thought you might like it.
Well, at least you're polite.
We try.
Why you bothered an old woman?
We heard that some people got lost going down by Summer Creek 5 years ago.
I told her not to go down there.
So you did talk to them.
Oh, yeah. Eventually, everybody who wants to find out about the witch comes here.
What do you know about the witch?
I know something's terrible in that holler. My family's always known it.
And they know how to protect themselves, though, right?
We got our ways. Still, none of us go too far up in it.
What is it that's there? Do you know?
She takes a pretty good slug of that bourbon. You know, that place was haunted even before us white folks came.
Oh?
Old curse.
Yeah. The native folk around here, they didn't go there. They said that something evil bubbled up from that spring. You ever... They talk about that people can get the cancer. You know, It's like little bits of you start turning evil and against you.
Mm-hmm.
That whole valley, it's got the cancer.
Really?
And it's hungry.
You know anyone who's gone in there and come back out?
Oh, over the years, a few folks, most of them just crazy in the head. They hear things calling to them. I've heard it. Oh, I hear it. But I don't go following it.
Did you hear anything about Polly or this sheriff? Sheriff Cole?
Only person I've ever seen go in there and come back out.
That makes sense.
Oh, really?
So, isn't he?
What?
He's changed?
He was always sort of an asshole, but...
We all laugh.
You don't go in there, come back out, and something ain't happened to you. He went in there looking for them folks you talking about. And this is something that, Turnbull told you he didn't go.
Mm-hmm.
He went in there, he went looking for him. Said he couldn't find him. I tell you, I think it's a lie.
Why is that?
Really? Why is that?
And I did pour her a little bit more bourbon at that point, just to make sure her glass has a little in it all the time.
I can smell a lie. It's the talent I've always had. He smells like a whole dung pile right in the hot sun. Maybe when all them flies around him.
Lets me think that maybe he didn't come back, but his body did.
Son, you look like you've seen some things. Let me tell you, I have too. Them folks you looking for, I see them every once in a while. You're muted.
And she kind of goes, what do you mean?
Oh, and she points back down towards the south. They'll come up to the edge. They'll try and talk to me. Try and sing their little song. They don't cross the boundary, though. I know the ways.
Their bodies, or ghosts?
Oh, they ain't spirits. They ain't haints. They physical. I'll see their tracks out there.
So what boundaries have we created?
Boundary, then.
Oh,
sorry.
Boundaries. I know a few of the tricks. Cross branch, a bit of the grist, right words. Nobody crosses the boundary.
But Cole crossed the boundary, didn't he?
Well, Cole's man.
The sheriff.
I suppose. Now, you mentioned it. I ain't. Cole don't come.
There's something in him, though.
If you go and looking for them, which I tell you shouldn't, but you ain't gonna find the people you're looking for. What's happened to them? Well, they've been eat up.
We still have to find them. But have you ever seen something like this? And I show her the bone whistle.
Law. I ain't seen that in many a year. She kind of reaches out.
I pull back.
Polly give you that?
More or less.
Does it work?
It might. Polly's a distant relative of mine. Very distant. One of my uncles was her great, not so great grandfather. Probably he passed it on down. My family's always had a bit of the gift.
Do you use your gift?
I use it. I walk my borders. People come for help sometimes. I can help them.
You're particularly gifted, aren't you? I mean, there were signs when you were born.
How'd you hear about that?
And she goes, it's in the books in the Historical Society, in the yearbook.
Writing about a woman without her permission. Ugh.
Well, you were a baby.
Well, the last of the McLeans. That's what I am. Seventh daughter of a seventh daughter.
Ooh.
How come you never married?
The more I see of men, the more I like dogs.
Okay.
Do you want us to do something against that Cancer Valley?
Boy, you ain't gonna be able to stop it.
We will try.
And she kind of appraises you a moment. You know, it's a long time since I saw someone who I thought just might could. Give me a minute. And she walks inside. And when she comes back out, she's got a mason jar filled with a clear liquid going a bit yellow. Inside of it, you think at first, is it like maybe a crab? Then no, it's got hairs on it. Some sort of bug. About that big. This is what you're looking for out there. This is what'll come and get you. The whole floor, they say, will crawl. That's what the crazy ones talk about that come out. Say they want to get inside.
That doesn't sound so good.
No, it does not.
Can't shoot this, but we can burn this probably.
Thing to fear is the stuff that's already got them inside it. The animals, the people. They done eat up inside. They just bags full of bugs.
Has anyone else gone in there?
Not in a damn long time. Wish them kids hadn't have gone either. Wish you wouldn't either. Let Haints lie. That place can just be forgotten. Thank you for the drink.
Thank you for telling us.
Thank you. Thank you for your
the advice.
hospitality.
And I think we'll pull y'all out of that. And y'all make your way back. As you get up the road, the sheriff's not there. And you know from where Polly told you that if you turn off of this road here, you could get to that track. It is now about 6 o'clock. The sun is definitely dipping low. We also are at 10:20. Well, we're at 23 after. So I'd like for us to get into the place and at least try and get some look at it. So we're gonna kind of meta up a little bit to things we might want to do before we go, if that's what we're doing. So I'll ask first, Sabine, do you think y'all should go at night, or you want to wait till the next day? And what preparations would you like to make before you go?
I think I would like to go in the evening, in the darkening, just to see what Haints would get out, because they usually come when the night falls. And what he would like to take along is torches, like the ones with fire, not the electrical ones.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, electrical ones are fine too, but something that burns.
Okay. So you're voting for at night, and those are some of the preparations you're making. I'm going to scoot over to you, Lucas. You voting for night, and what sort of preparations would you like to make?
Well, I would be going in with I like the torches idea, so we have to go get some of those or make some of those. But other than that, I've got some cameras, some microphones, just to try and document the thing. And then now that we know what we're looking for, go in there with my wiles and see what we can figure out once we're in there.
Okay. Sherry, you voting for night, and what preparations would you like to make?
Oh, holy smacks. I want like magnesium. I want something to burn that place out. I want a full-scale forest fire, but one that starts right at that spring from something unnatural. I want to end that place. So that is sort of what she says. She goes, I believe Granny.
Oil lanterns?
Oil lanterns aren't going to do anything against those bugs. Look at those things. And she holds the jar up, shakes it. And the floor crawling with them.
Let's try burning it and see.
We'd need flamethrowers. That would be best, but I guess we can't get them right now. Or maybe we can.
There's
Derek?
army surplus everywhere. I mean, it's got to be somewhere nearby.
I mean, I can get my hands on some, but we probably had to wait a bit.
Please.
I mean, I can make a phone call, I guess.
Yes.
Because, I mean, I have this agency, right? And I can ask them if they have some flamethrowers lying about that they might be willing to part with.
You could indeed. Derek, what preparations are you thinking of making?
Well, I also thought about flamethrowers, but I guess in that town I only might be able to get a flare gun or something like that. Also, maybe some repellent.
Bug spray.
Yeah, but yeah, well.
They do have a gas station. I'm just going to, if we're talking fire, we do have a gas station there.
Maybe we could prepare some Molotov cocktails.
Yes, or essentially we could do that, but we could also set up a planned burn, couldn't we?
Like firemen do.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
You could. All right, then. It sounds like you're heading back to town to try and collect some things, and Jorge is going to try and call in, see if maybe there is some heavy artillery that could be brought in. Let's see here. Why don't you roll dealing with the agency?
I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
Yeah. Let's see how I do. I don't think I do so great. No, I mean, it's a 7. So
Not bad.
And let's see.
Could be worse.
Could use.
But,
you could use luck.
Oh yeah, right. You're right. I will use luck.
It's down to the last half hour, people.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's what am I saving it for? I just forgot about it. So yeah, I'm using luck. This is going really well.
The agency's like, really? Flamethrowers? Okay. And they'll let you know that they can send somebody out there, but it'll be probably, tomorrow afternoon.
I don't know. That's not. Yeah, they should send them, but I think might be too late for us.
I mean, the Valley isn't going anywhere.
Yeah,
True.
exactly. We just
but that
survive the sheriff until then.
Oh, we can go hiking in the north just to throw him off.
Truth.
Good idea.
Okay, so sounds like
there's a scary story.
Sounds like you get back to the lodge. You picking up some, preparing some Molotov cocktails, and you're picking up bug spray. You're getting torch material. Do y'all pick up some cans of gas? Is that something you're also wanting to get? Okay.
Yeah.
Can I just read something interesting. I got that occult confidential move. The first time in each mystery that you observe a monster, minion, or phenomenon.
Oh, yeah.
Can I ask a question about the sheriff? Or
you can, and you can ask one about the bug in the jar.
Oh, great. So
it's in Investigate a Mystery? Is that right? A question from Investigate a Mystery?
Yeah, exactly. What can hurt it?
Okay, is that the bug or the sheriff?
The sheriff, because I think we're going to find more bodies or corpses with a lot of bugs or flies.
You're kind of racking your brain, and you feel like he can be hurt like a normal person, as in weapons will work against him. He's probably tougher than a normal person. But bursting open his body will make, the things will come out.
Makes sense. Okay, no body, no harm. Or
Pinata, Sheriff?
What was that?
A pinata, Sheriff?
Yeah. But it ain't candy. And for the bug,
Flamethrower.
a lot of things. Flamethrower will hurt.
What sort of creature is it?
Excellent. You have seen so many wild things. This, first off, it looks ancient, like something forgotten from the past. You believe that this is a creature from a hive. Ancient, dark creature, probably lurking here, forgotten for millennia, for ages upon ages. This is one of the great terrible things they don't teach in anthropology classes, that they don't dig up fossils for. But this is one of the ancient destroyers of life.
Okay, that sounds intimidating. Huh. Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I'll let you know.
Sorry, Derek, go ahead.
I just wanted to say, I'll let you know what I found out, or what my thought process gave me.
With him explaining this and with us having actually encountered them, would that count for my ability as well then? The
Yes,
things
I
I've
believe
seen?
so. Yes.
Okay.
Let's see. When you counter phenomena, you may declare you've seen it before. Where did you encounter something like this before? What was it that this reminds you of?
I'm thinking it was some historical books that I read about ancient Egypt.
Ooh. Kind of scarab-esque sort of thing.
Yes.
Indeed, this is you've read of this one of like a plague that was stumbled upon in ancient times, and it seemed that nothing could stop it. It was as though they were constant. There was always more, and it took the priests of the Pharaoh to finally find a way to stop it. They took the purest of waters of the Nile, and they went to that nest, and they poured the purest waters of the Nile. But they had also anointed it with these most holy of oils. In particular, the oils that bubbled up from the ground itself into black pools. And when they cast it at the nest, and they chanted above it, the light of Ra shone upon it, and it burst into purifying flame.
So they threw oil on it and burned them.
Yeah, it's a better story.
More poetical.
And they threw holy water on it.
And they threw holy water on it. So,
I mean, is there a church? Can we get some holy water?
there is definitely a church.
I mean, if we're dotting all the T's and dotting all the I's and crossing all the T's, we can let's take that with us too.
I'm going to say that it is not hard for you to find a church there, and there's a heavy Scotch-Irish influence to this area. So it's there is they have an old style religion where holy water is there to when you come in.
Yeah, I'll just ask the priest maybe to give us some because I need to bless my car.
You absolutely should do that, my son. A holy car is a great car. It will not leave you stranded on the road of life.
It needs blessing somehow. So it needs blessing pretty hard. That car makes noises, but holy water has always cured that.
I hope it's a good American car.
It is, sir. It is.
So we'll bring in the buckets and we'll put some money in the tip thing. Get a
My
bucket.
goodness.
I'd like to combine the holy water with the Molotov cocktails.
Very nice. Excellent. All right. I think we get through the preparation. Shall do a little hiking up north. It's very pretty. Lots of wildflowers. You do notice the sheriff drive by occasionally by the cabin that y'all are staying at and look out the window at you, but doesn't seem to bother you. There's a van that shows up the next afternoon, and two guys come out with a crate and deliver to you two flamethrowers. These are not quite. We're not looking at like the World War I big tank sort of thing. These are about, I guess you can't see my hands. They're about 3 feet, maybe a meter long, with a reservoir underneath them. And it has a, like when you pull the trigger, it'll hit a pilot and it'll spit out a flame stream. But they'll tell you, we have to give up a little for portability. You're probably only going to get about 2 good shots off with them.
Well, yeah, that's fair. Thanks for the warning. We'll make do with what we got.
Flamethrowers.
You don't want to know.
You're right. And they get back in their van and drive away. And so, the next evening, you pile in the van and head off down the cart track. It's rough going, and as the sun dips down, you come to where the track reaches this kind of stone bridge over a creek. And in the dying light of the sun, the creek it's really beautiful. It's clear. And there are flowers all along its sides, and you can see heading upstream, it goes into a very dense, packed pine and oak forest.
Those things burn great.
They do,
Mm-hmm.
and it is a very old pine and oak forest, and there's a lot of nobody goes in, so there's a lot of crap on where stuff has fallen and old deadfall, and
I would like to read a bad situation before we get in and burn everything down because I want to have a route of escape.
That's a good idea. And so as you unload the van and you're kind of looking, first off, I'll give you this bit of information. The easiest way to get through it would be going up the creek.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And other than that, you're going to have to kind of pick your way through and move stuff to the side. Roll that read a bad situation. Anybody feel like they're helping?
What is it for help? Cool. I'm so bad at that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll try and help.
You want to try and help? All right, roll it.
Let you roll first.
And this is really just y'all scanning, y'all are all trying to take a look.
Yeah.
How'd you do, Lucas?
I got an 8.
8. How did you do with them? So you get a +1. How'd you do, Jorge?
It's with sharp, right?
That is correct.
Okay, so that's a 7, that's an 8.
An 8. All right, you're going to get to hold 1, so you can ask 1 question.
Yeah, what I want to know is, once this thing burns, what's our best way out?
It's going to be the creek. I mean,
okay.
there's, first off, it's going to be water. It's got a fairly clear path through. So stick it to the creek will be your best way to get through.
Okay.
But we did have a mid result out of a help there. And as y'all have kind of come to the edge of the forest, and you're looking up the creek, Lucas, you feel something tickling at your ankle and then moving up your calf.
Okay. I'll hit it.
You smack down and kind of look, and you see that there is a snake.
Huh.
It is
not poisonous.
Well, it's black, and as you smack at it, it turns its head up to look at you, and it's got red eyes, and you can see little mites crawling all over it.
Yeah.
I need for you to, you can act under pressure to try and throw it away from you, get it away from you, or you could try to kick its ass, if snakes have asses.
I'm going to use my martial arts to kick it away.
There you go. Let's kick some ass going. So let's roll with tough.
I didn't say I was good at it. Oh.
Ooh.
Oh, how did we do?
Snake eyes.
Snake eyes.
And I have a
you
minus
can use
one.
luck.
You can use luck.
I'm going to have to use luck.
All right. So you're going to take it to a 12. Or you could choose, do you wish to take it up to the 12, or do you want to just avoid the damage? Either or.
I'll take it up to the 12.
Okie doke. So you inflict harm on it. At the moment, it's inflicting harm on you as well. So what? Let's see. You're using your martial arts. That does what? 2 damage.
Does 1.
1 damage. You can take advantage. Take a +1 forward to give a +1 forward to another person. You can inflict terrible damage, doing extra harm. You can suffer less damage, -1 harm, or you can force them where you want them.
I'll force them where I want them.
You tossing it away, throwing it away.
Yep.
You spin kick, and it goes flying across away from you, kind of twirling through the air. But and I suppose everybody looks over, but you feel like fire almost from your ankle as this thing has bitten you. You're going to take 2 harm, and your foot is kind of throbbing there.
You want me to have a look at this? You probably do.
Sure.
Sit down. Yeah, I'll. I mean, I don't think I have the antidote for whatever that is now, but maybe we can just.
Want to do your medic?
Yeah.
All
I
right.
want to do my medic.
Roll with cool.
I mean, okay, cool is good. Maybe. Yeah, cool is good. I've got a 12.
Nice. So
Yeah.
your harm is healed. So you get your 2 back. But it is still, it's still sort of painful.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do I have a condition at all, or?
Yeah, I think we're going to put down that we're going to put down lame.
Yeah. tell you that maybe we should go to a hospital later on because I'm not sure if I got everything out there.
We're not going to have you poisoned, but it definitely has caused your foot to swell. All right.
So one thing is I didn't get a chance to say what my prep was. So
Oh, I'm sorry.
I did go get whistles.
Nice. Excellent. So everyone has a whistle. We also have the bone whistle. We have some cans of gas. We have some Molotov cocktails. We have the grist bag. And we have some flamethrowers. Who's carrying the flamethrower beside you, Jorge?
What does it take to use a flamethrower?
It's going to be kick some ass.
Ooh, that's like tough, right?
Tough, yeah.
I think I have one tough. I have 0 tough.
Just don't give it to me and you're fine.
So, Derek, do you want to use one of the flamethrowers?
I also got 0 tough, so yes.
Yes. That's
All right.
I don't want to be useful in that way, in any way at all. So I've been reading up about setting a forest fire, controlled fire. So I've been reading all that stuff, and I think that gives me a +1 forward.
Okay.
When I spend time reading the latest news feeds looking for weird stuff, I can take a +1 forward.
Excellent.
So for setting the forest on fire, I have a +1 forward on that.
Very nice, and to be quite useful.
Yes, it might be.
So you begin setting off, kind of following the creek, sometimes even having to kind of walk in the creek. And you travel for at least a mile back up in here. And you begin to hear in the trees and in the babble of the creek, now that it is getting quite dark, voices. Derek, you hear a voice. We've been waiting for you. You're so perfect. We can make you stronger. We can take away all of your worries.
Is it a male or a female voice, or is it recognizable in any way?
You think it's female, but it's certainly kind of a high pitched, and there's almost a little bit of a whine to it, kind of a whirly, kind of a buzzing sound to it.
Okay, I still try. I'm like, Sarah, is that you? Is there something left of you in there?
As you say that, stepping out from the trees at the top, kind of the bank of the creek, you do see Sarah Gamble. She's wearing hiking clothes, but they're dirty and torn. And her eyes are wide, and there is a pinprick of red in their center. She says, "You've come to find me. I was so hoping." And she starts moving towards you. Here, take my hand. Come with me. I have a camp, and I have good food there. And she's reaching towards you and moving to try and, reach out to grab you.
I don't want to be touched by her, and I'm going to blow the bone whistle.
You put it up to your lips and blow. Roll me an act under pressure, please.
Oh,
with cool.
Okay. 9 plus. Do I have something on cool? Yes, so it's a 10.
Excellent. You begin blowing this whistle, and as you do, she kind of recoils and opens her mouth and sort of screams, and there's this buzzing, and you see crawling from her mouth, these bugs begin issuing out, crawling away from her as she's screaming. And she drops to her knees, and these things are just like covering over her. But those pinpricks of red, they fade. And she looks up at you. Help me.
Okay, so she is kind of still alive without the bugs. I was about to give her a burst with a flamethrower. Yeah, well, I'd like to help her. I don't know how right now.
You want to try and pull her away from all those bugs? Y'all have holy water. You could try and wash them off of her.
Can we all see her?
You could all see her, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I think my first
You're
impulse
muted,
would.
Jerry.
We have buckets of holy water.
You too.
I think my first impulse would be continuing blowing the whistle and stepping right next to her so that the bugs and whatever leave us alone, and she's next to me, and I don't know, ward those insects off.
Okay. I'm going to go to Jorge. What are you doing as you see this happening?
Bug spray. I mean, it's not healthy for people, but it's better than probably being full of bugs, right?
Yes. I think you go up, and as you spray this bug spray, they kind of, it's not like they curl up and die, but they definitely move back from it. And as you and Derek are kind of shoved, they crawl down and away.
And see, that's flamethrower time here. Desiree?
She doesn't have.
Till we get to the source. This is Penny Ante.
So you pull her, and she kind of collapses there, but she seems alive.
Really?
I would like to look over her. Well, I mean, she seems alive, but if she was full of bugs, that can't be healthy.
I'm going to, without a roll, looking at her, she is badly malnourished and exhausted, but she seems alive.
Okay. Well, give her some of the holy water to drink. That can't hurt if she's a normal person.
Good thinking.
All right.
Where are the others? Where are your friends? Where's your crew?
And like I say, she's almost unconscious, but it's back. She points up the creek.
The spring?
Spring. And she just sort of collapses down, and for a moment she sobs before she passes into unconsciousness.
Okay. So now one of us needs the fireman carrier.
Okay, I'll do that.
You hoist her up, and now you're sort of burdened with this girl, but y'all begin tromping your way up. And the sounds of the forest, the whispers, all of you are hearing them, but you're blowing your whistles, and it sort of keeps them at bay. And as you travel 2-3 miles, you're exhausted. The brambles have torn at you. At the edges, you sense things watching you. Before you reach the mountain rising up above you, the tree line kind of drops, and you can see a massive split in the cliff. Coming out from it is that beautiful, clean water. But all around the hole and all down the banks, this constant motion of those bugs. And as you step out, they sort of rhythmically hum and buzz. And coming out of the crack, you see 4 figures. 3 of them are hunched and look just riddled with exhaustion and dirt and torn, and they're covered in these bugs. But the 4th one, you recognize him. It's Sheriff Cole. He looks down. I told you, you shouldn't come here. And he
I
has
think I should.
lifted his pistol.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I was going to do the same and shoot him.
You're going to fire the flamethrower or your pistol?
At this point, the lore was that I can just shoot him, right?
Mm-hmm.
The flamethrower is for the bugs.
Are the other ones away
So-
from him, or are they close to him still?
You see they have come out and they're kind of moving down as he's standing in the cave entrance. So they're a little away from him, but they seem to be approaching you all.
Yeah, but the sheriff is the larger problem.
So you're going to try and shoot him?
Sure.
And I think that you two are probably firing simultaneously at each other. So we get the ring out of 2 shots. Bang, bang. Roll kick some ass.
Oh, great. Let's see how that goes.
I'm shouting, don't kill him, he might be still innocent in there.
I don't think the sheriff is innocent, so I'm not listening. He's a sheriff. Come on. I've got an 8. I'm wondering if this is the right moment to just use luck to turn it up to 12, because we're in the final minutes here. So yeah, I will. I will. I mean, why not?
So you take it up to a 12. You're going to gain an advantage for you or your friends. You're going to suffer. Are you going to inflict terrible damage, suffer less, or force them where you want them?
I think at that point, what I really want is it's just +1 harm, right? So I would do normally 2. That means 3.
That'd probably kill a normal person.
Yeah. Okay, then I'll do that.
All right. You fire.
But
and he clutches his chest where you hit him, and his gun goes off and slams into you for 2 points, but you got your flak jacket.
And I have also removed that gives me another point of armor.
So does it bounce?
My battlefield awareness. Yeah, it bounces.
And as he staggers back, there's an enormous hole in his chest, but no blood comes out. Instead, pours out flies that begin circling around in this cave entrance. And we are at time. So I think what I'm going to have us do is epilogue it out. I wish I could get a roll. I realize now I paced too slow at the beginning to get us into this. I apologize. But I think we're going to head around with epilogues of how this scene ends. You certainly have all the information you need. So I'm going to start with you, Lucas. What do we see either at the end of this here or somewhere further as the epilogue for Lucas?
Well, as soon as those flies start piling out, on go the buckets of holy water so that the flies can't fly anymore. And then that's when the rest of the stuff comes in, as far as I can see. And then you see me sitting down with the rest of the crew, writing my story at my typewriter. And
Excellent.
I publish it.
Derek, what do we get an epilogue from Derek?
So in that action-packed scene, I'd like to try to torch the spring itself, because my thought is that there's some kind of power core to this anomaly or something, and I'd like to, because water burns if you pour gasoline into it, so I just try that and throw my Molotov cocktails into that spring. Maybe that weakens the insects, the bugs, the flies. And well, I hope we can rescue all of them, even the sheriff, and find out that they were possessed and that they, survived those 5 long years.
Okay. I think you throw in the flame and I think from that spring, the steam and something underneath it you hear crack. And that buzzing around it reaches this high-pitched whine as that thing cracks. Sherry, what do we epilogue out for Desiree?
I think what you get is like her found footage, very, Blair Witch in some way, where she's got Sarah still on her back and she's carrying her. She's got her camera strapped to her side and she's sitting the fire and she's kind of blowing the whistle whenever she catches the drone of the bugs or whatever. But she's also cussing under her breath the whole time as she's setting up these fire things to like set this whole thing up. And so it's like this weird thing of she's seen all this weird stuff, but all of it comes out hazy and odd, and mostly you just hear her cussing and you see some fire getting started, and then that's like she's looking at it and she's like, it's not even usable. You see the whole adventure.
Excellent. And Jorge, what do we epilogue out from you?
Well, they're all saved, even the sheriff, with his terrible wound in his chest. However, we may manage that. I think we'll see Jorge. I think he'll probably try to cover everybody getting out, fighting off some of those bugs, and everything seems to have gone really fine. We torched the place. The ancient bugs have been vanquished. Everybody is saved. Hooray. And then we see Jorge drive away. And in the final shot, you can see him sitting there. And then you see one of those bugs crawl out of his ear.
Love it. Love it. And my little final scene is as the valley is just going up in flames. We see sitting on her porch is Granny McLean sipping some bourbon. She says, damn it, he did it. And she swallows down the bourbon. Thank you all. That has been Monster of the Week, The Silence of the Woods. We are well past time. I hope y'all have a lot of fun. If folks have just 2 little minutes, I would love if folks would maybe give a star out for Monster of the Week itself, anything that you saw in the game, or your fellow players. And we'll just go around real quick. Sherry, any stars?
Oh, yeah. Sabine, awesome ending. And Derek, I am so glad you picked that book up and like that charm, because I was like, oh, don't mess with that charm. Oh, and he did, and it was awesome. And Terry, you did a great job of the other reporter who was right in there on all the social stuff. It was great. Awesome stuff. Super fun to play. And Tyler, as always, creepy. Thank you.
Thank you. Mario, any stars?
Yeah, the sheriff in the woods who came up to our car and that was intense. That was cool. I loved it.
Thank you. Lucas, any stars?
Yeah, I actually love the dynamic that Sherry and I were able to do with as the reporters, and the fact that we were completely different types, but at the same time our styles worked together. It was awesome, and I loved the bug coming out of the ear or Jorge at the end.
Oh, yes. Sabine, any stars?
Yeah, many stars. I loved everybody's character. They were the two reporters. That was a lot of fun. And Derek as this straight-laced, kind of noir detective, always like, I'm going to the point. There is no humor in this. My world is dark. Kind of Batman, right? Had a bit of the vibe. Yeah, and the story was really nice with all these people and this history and these evil bugs. It was fun.
Cool. And I want to star all of you. I thought your characters were great. I really enjoyed the dynamic. Y'all played really well together. Thank you for indulging me. The game, I always love playing Monster of the Week. Sabine, that epilogue, that was so good. And I had a wonderful time. I do wish I'd have sped us along a little faster, but I hope y'all had a nice time. And I hope that y'all all enjoy the rest of the open gaming if you have other games. And I am going to stop the broadcast now. So, folks, if you enjoyed this one, I have other games up on YouTube, and there's tons at Gauntlet. So watch more!